Welcome back, everybody, to day number 7 of the PUBG Mobile European Community Tournament. And today we have a special guest. Today we have a different caster on hand. I'll be here, of course, Zute, and also with me today is DK. How are you feeling, DK?
Hey, pretty excited, I gotta say. I mean, we've been watching these teams playing it out over all these past 6 days so far of gameplay, and I mean, it's looking pretty hot and spicy right here.
Yeah, like the teams have been playing absolutely, crazy. We had a bit of a break, and we came back yesterday after a 4-day break, and I had a huge question of whether or not these teams are going to be, needing to warm up once again. And we saw one team that absolutely smashed it yesterday, and they didn't need any warm up at all. I think they had a record high in points just yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Game Lord, they really stepped up their gameplay, coming in with the total of 80 points. But of course, that is very close to their first half gameplay, where they brought in a grand total of 78 points. So definitely, it does seem like Game Lord, they're out here, they want to prove themselves, and they want to try and, bring in some good dominance for their side as well.
Yeah, Game Lord representing the France community, so definitely putting them on the map. But, Game Lord does really well day number 1, so to say, whenever we came back. And they did really good day number 1 of when the initial tournament started. So that kind of begs the question, like, do you think some of these other teams, as the days go on, will start, catching back up to the likes of Game Lord, and Game Lord's going to start, dropping off a little bit?
Well, that definitely could be a possibility. I mean, if we look over to a team like Big, for instance, right? In their first week of gameplay, they were pretty heavy on the side of those eliminations. They brought in a grand total of 110 eliminations, which is well ahead of what Game Lord was able to bring in. So who knows? Maybe on the second week, they could be stepping it up, looking to overtake the players there from Game Lord in their performance.
Yeah, taking a look at the overalls, of course, France had an extremely good day yesterday by the side of Game Lord. They're now firmly in the lead at 451. Germany, like you mentioned, representing Big, actually has the most elims out of all the teams in the tournament because they're such a heavy elim team, and they're trailing a little bit behind at 408. And then, of course, Italy. I think the top 3 is where we kind of want to look at in terms of who could be number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some high potential plays coming through, but of course the Nordic countries right there hot on their heels, not really disappointing with regards to those ranking points that they're able to bring in, sitting on a very consistent number. I mean, that is pretty close to what Germany has been able to bring in, and they're of course well ahead of what Romania has been able to bring to the table. But who knows? I mean, anything can still change, as we saw in just yesterday's gameplay. A super aggressive start coming in from the side there of Game Lord, finishing on that 21 elimination game. But I mean, the gate is still pretty much open for any of these regions and teams to step up and surprise us.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, these are competitive teams. So even if they're not necessarily in the running for first overall, this is practice in a way for them. And all these teams are still trying their hardest. And I want to give a special recognition to the United Kingdom by the side of V100. V100 had an absolutely good, amazing day yesterday. A team that's been really up and down, and we kind of, always saw shines of brightness. But United Kingdom bumping themselves up to the 8th place slot after a really great day by V100.
Yeah, I mean, the 100, they brought in that chicken dinner with that, of course, 17 elims in total for the day. And I mean, even if we just look on their performance coming in from the previous week, they were in the 3rd place with their standings. I mean, so there's a great bit of play that we could still possibly see from them coming into today's matches.
Taking a look at the participating countries for today, we do have groups B, C, D, and E. Quick reminder to everyone, we have 20 teams in this tournament. 16 will be playing at a time. Group A is sitting out. And coming into today that did not play yesterday would be Group E. So Eastern Stars, kind of a really big team, a PMGC level team. They've had a 5-day break, so to say, because they didn't get to play yesterday. So that's one team that's stepping up today that I'm really curious to see how well they do, if they're going to come out strong or not, if they're able to take back their record in points from the Game Lord side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen some fantastic stuff come in from the players there of the Eastern Stars. But of course, we got to take a look at our map rotation for the day as well, just to kind of get an idea of where we're going to be going and, what's on the table for these teams.
We're doing the traditional good old map rotation order of Erangel, Miramar, Sandhawk, Erangel. Personally, we've seen this map rotation played in multiple different various tournaments. It's the one that we're sticking to for this year, I believe. And honestly, I think this map rotation works out perfectly. Erangel, we started off on a map that's super familiar. We get a little bit trickier onto Miramar, with the rotations, the map size, and everything. And then we speed things up with Sandhawk, and we ended off back on Erangel. So, what are your thoughts on the map rotation? I'm sure you've casted this map order plenty of times. I think it always makes for really good action.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, of course, it's good to start over on Erangel. Once they head up into Miramar, they get an opportunity to stretch their legs a little bit, get into those more long-range hits. And of course, after that, they head straight back into the jungle to dial up the aggression before returning. So I definitely think that is a good way of rotating through these maps. So it definitely does prep the teams for that final Erangel once again.
Yeah, so for today's first match, we do have Erangel coming up. The players are loading in. The matches will be starting extremely soon. I think we'll actually be seeing the playing path relatively soon. Excuse the background noise. I'm at a new setup today for everyone watching, so there might be a little bit of noise in the background, and I apologize, of course, to the production team and TK, but we have the first game underway.
Oh, and of course, we started off with a relatively interesting flight path because we can see it a little bit further up towards the north. So it is going to be ever slightly harder to reach down to those southern extremities, but I'm pretty sure the teams are pretty well figured out with where they would like to go, where they would like to drop into. And of course, you can see the players there from LMV being the first team to head right on down, looking to push up to potentially quarry maybe Primorsk. So I think that's a good starting position for them over on towards that southern side, as the rest of the teams have actually now taken ground a little bit further up on towards that northeastern direction.
Yeah, this plane path, definitely not the best, like you mentioned, but these teams should not have too much of a problem. Actually, we see two teams going towards that North George Pool area, which is something we have not seen before. I do believe there are a few teams going towards Pachinki, but it should only be one team landing there, as the other ones should be stretching a little bit further. And as far as, ooh, actually, that changes a
Mm.
lot. Very northern plane path and a huge potential for a military base. We haven't seen one of these in a while in this
Yeah.
tournament, actually. So it's gonna be a big challenge for a lot of these teams, as they might be a little bit unfamiliar. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is that two teams in Pachinki to start off the day?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is I gotta say, with this zone flight path combination, this for me is absolutely beautiful to see, right? Because now the teams are really being put to the test. Not only have they dropped a little bit further up towards the north, but now they also need to try and figure out where this next phase could potentially be going. Will it take them onto that Sosnovka Island, or will it stay up towards the north? And as you said, Pachinki, a little bit of hot drop action, but we also saw that coming in towards North George. So I got to say, I'm excited to see what the teams are going to be bringing to the table. And of course, to start it off, over into Pachinki, we have the players here from Real Tiger 9, and they are now going to be looking to defend their position against the players coming in there from Mega Power.
Yes, Mega Power is definitely the intruding team. We saw this team fight before, but Mega Power actually switched their drop spot to Novo. And we confirmed this on the day where RT9 was not playing. The plane path flew both over Novo and Pachinki, and Mega Power did not even land in Pachinki. So they don't want this location anymore. But due to that plane path, right, they're kind of forced to land somewhere that's closer along the plane path, and that being the Pachinki side. And it's quite ironic, however, that the circle is going to end up potentially being a military island finish. So I'm pretty sure Mega Power would have much rather preferred being in the Novo area. But the plane path is the plane path. Now, these two teams, traditionally, when they have fought in Pachinki, if I remember correctly, it's actually Mega Power that usually gets the better of RT9.
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out rightly so, Mega Power, they at times drop into Pachinko itself. So it does mean that they are relatively comfortable with playing in and around the compound situated here. But I mean, Real Tiger 9, it's also a team that we've seen. They've shown potential. Yes, it's been a little bit of a trying play, but I mean, just in yesterday's games rather, they were able to, or not yesterday, last month or last week rather. Wow, I can't speak today. Of course, they found several eliminations that week as a whole. So they definitely are a team that are capable of fighting. But now they are definitely going to be put to the test. As we can see, the players here from Mega Power looking to maybe just show a bit of dominance here.
1000%. Septives with the Car 90A, I believe, or that might be the most. That first initial knock with that sniper might be instrumental here. It looks like positioning wise though, Mega Power I would say has a nicer spread, just ever so slightly. You see that southern angle being taken up by the Mega Power team, that wraparound potentially just choking in RT9. But it really comes down to who's got the better aim at this point. Positioning is great from Mega Power, but one things both teams have to consider as Septas, like I said, with that K9 getting that opening onto Ritty, this could be the huge difference maker and the zone, right? This could be a potential military island finish. Both teams want to finish this fight out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to linger too long up in towards Pachinki, as you've pointed out. It is going to be essential to get those positions set up in the zone. But meanwhile, Fella is going to be tapping away as captives get knocked right on down. But this is a good play now for the players here of Mega Powers. They're getting ready to push even more so up towards the players here from Real Tiger 9. Both sides, of course, having a fair and equal trade-off. As you can see, we've got a knocked player on either end. But now, I mean, Logist, he's just perched up against that wall, just waiting to see if anyone's going to dare venture up close. Also now cooking up a few of those grenades, utilities, getting ready to maybe send it over, but does inflict some self-damage there.
I think RT9 will be able to get the revive, however, on Septiv. So Mega Power still at the disadvantage number-wise. And now you can tell RT9 has the better spread onto the Mega Power side. Lodge is trying to readjust, hold a wider angle right there. You can see him moving back as Rex using that window, potentially able to get a nice angle. And I think now Mega Power is actually just down to 2 players as another player gets taken out. Yeah, it's just that wider spread by RT9 manages to catch 1 player on the side and they get the knock and the flush.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful change around between these two teams because we saw Mega Power coming in with that wider spread with the Real Tiger 9 team, of course, being relatively close in their positioning. But now they've turned the tables as they've been able to find these knocks and these elims right up on towards Mega Power. Now, I mean, this is where I feel a little bit worried for Logist and Rex because they've come in with this approach, and Real Tiger 9 has kind of just broken down all those barriers as they continue now to push even further forward. And up comes Premix now with a beautiful play coming in here from Logist.
Ooh, yeah, Logis is repositioning all the way back down to the south side of pitching. He definitely catches that player off guard. You can tell he was running in the open. He did not think the Mega Power team has readjusted that far back. But what can Mega Power do from it? I mean, they get a knock as another player goes down from Mega Power. It's a 1v4 situation. I don't think there is much Logis can do at this point. Bar, he pulls off something amazing. This Mega Power as a team, really strong team, but I've not seen a player with the caliber to 1v4 Sensei.
Well, maybe. I mean, look at this play, though. Lodgers just going to town. Funny hit off the head. What? Oh. Just narrowly gets taken out. I mean, that was a really good play coming from both Mega Power as well as Real Tiger 9. But unfortunately, you know, Real Tiger, they just had the controlling numbers coming into these last few engagements.
Yeah, Logis with that DP definitely started to put in work. You know, the DP actually is not that strong close range as far as the hip fire goes. The hitbox goes pretty wide. But even then, he managed to connect some really nice shots, but he just needed that one more bullet into that last remaining player, and he would have got his 1v4 highlight clip. But it was a good effort, good attempt by Mega Power. They will go out early in this game, but Mega Power is a very strong team, so they got 3 games left for today to kind of bounce back. I wouldn't put it past them to put on a better performance, and after all, Pachinki was not their planned intended drop. That was more so due to playing path. They're a team that likes to go Novo instead, so definitely threw them off a little bit, and that will be the first team eliminated from this match.
Yeah, but of course, as we look on to the rest of the lobby, we can see several teams now getting caught out in the blue zone as we have that lovely far southern rotation. But I'm curious to see what the second phase is going to bring. Will it move even further on towards that Sosnovka Island or could we maybe see it turn a little bit around and head a little bit further up towards the north? Of course, we'll have our answer, and there
Oh,
it is. It centers up to that western bridge. Now, look at the four Romanian men already having
yes.
a good controlling position right there.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed. The four Romanian 2-2 splits on both sides of the bridge. They weren't sure if it's going, on the main island or military island. And given the circle, we're still not 100% sure. I've seen some really crazy shifts in my time. In this type of same exact circle, it will go hard shift back onto military island. But it looks like the four Romanian men are going to just decide to give up the 2-2 split. They have a firm feeling that it will be on the northern island, and even then, if they could at least control the bridge side of that northern island, they still have an entry point into the southern side. Eastern Stars, coming from the east, they do a huge split drop around the melted power region, currently in the blue, and now that they have a better idea of where the circle could potentially be, they're going to be making their first rotation.
Ooh, and of course, speaking about rotations, we can see the players here from Big also now trying to make their way up and towards the zone itself. Not before meeting Team Glor along the way. You can see Swave off in distance. Beautiful shooting, though. I like these little big hits coming in, but of course, Beast right there providing an additional layer of coverage. But look at the spread, though. I mean, Big, they've just taken to this hillside. They're trying to line up these plays, as much of them as they, of course, can manage. But now Glor, they do have a position in the hard cover, but I'm not quite sure whether or not they'll be able to hold this because, I mean, once Big decides they're going to dial up the aggression, they're going to go full send potentially.
Yeah, Big's one of the teams that we've seen take a team fight like just almost 100% of the time. The first fight they encounter on their rotation, they usually end up taking. You can see that spread. Big definitely intends to do something over there. One thing I'm worried about though, that the circle just recently shifted, right? So teams are still rotating, and with that big spread, there could potentially be a third party from the side of Big, right? They don't really have a player on top of the mountain to watch their backs. So we'll see in a little bit how that plays out as Game Lord, a team that absolutely crushed it yesterday in the northern edge of the circle next to the team of RT9 who finished their fight with the Mega Power team, but it looks like they might get into another fight with Game Lord soon. And in that kill feed, Big did get the first initial knock. I won't be surprised if they push in and try and finish it out.
Yeah, but this is now going to be an important play coming in for the players here from Real Tiger 9, as they've already had a little bit of success over into Pachinki so far, but now, it is an interesting position to have it up in towards the northern reaches of that zone. So we'll see what they make with that position. But for the time being, up comes Big, though, as they look to challenge the players here from Glor up in the compounds. And as you said, this is where that team fight comes in, and they are quite keen, it seems, to take this fight. You can see beautiful spread coming in from the side of Big. Oh, Swave on the opposite end finds a quick hit right up in towards Leonardo. Down he goes, and now it is up to only 2 remaining players for the side of Glor.
Yeah, Big we said has one of the most eliminations as a team in this game, representing Germany, and of course, no surprise here that they're taking this fight. They're not backing down. All they needed was that initial knock, and as predicted, they're pushing in to finish it out. Glor right now stuck in the second floor with only 2 members alive, playing really defensive here. But of course, Swave, you see the grenades raining in. One more grenade, 2 more grenades maybe. It actually only took 1, and now it's a
Ooh.
4v1 situation. It's pretty much all over for Glor.
Yep, that is the opening that they were looking for, and up they come to clean it out. Big, getting a beautiful squad right there on to Team Glor. But with that, of course, we are down to 14 remaining teams, and 4 Romanian men really relatively close to the players here from Red Moon, as they now just move themselves up a little bit further away, as the zone has once again shifted in towards that northwestern play. But I mean, look at that open field. This is where things are going to get quite interesting, as we still have quite a large number of teams remaining, but we are definitely starting to run out of space.
With this circle shift, it is 100% going to be ending on that northern main island of Erangel. And I want to point out real quick, Eastern Star is a PMGC level team. They just circumvented a lot of teams and went straight to the middle on that widespread hill. So that's going to come in play later. Game Lord right now currently engaged with the 100. Game Lord, Absolutely massive day yesterday. And the 100, not as big of a day, but as far as improvement wise, the 100 also had an amazing day for how far they've come and improved. So right now, this battle is looking more of a little bit of a stalemate as both teams are filling each other out. Both teams also in the edge of zone. So maybe they're just going to wait to see the next circle shift before they make a play. And Big, well, I mean, Big just don't stop. It looks like Big wants to take another fight, potentially drive in between both Game Lord and the 100.
Yeah, that is a good play coming through, though. Of course, Big not going to be sitting back and waiting for any fights to potentially come their way. They're going to go out looking for them. But I mean, Game Lord, yes, they are quite aggressive. But strangely enough, we haven't seen any elims come their way just yet. Can of course all now start to change. As you can see, the players here from 100 just occupying that southern portion of this hilltop. But with Big in the mix, I mean, we could potentially see a few of those elims going to Big side instead of over towards Game Lord.
Yeah, so Game Lord yesterday, they picked up most of all of their eliminations towards the end game. I remember going into Circle 5, they only had 4 elims, but that was also the very first game where they got a total of 17 elimination points, if I'm not mistaken. So, and the chicken. So Game Lord's definitely more of a late game focused team, and with their positioning and teamwork, if the zones play out, if they get the correct positionings and everything, that's where they'll pick up their massive amount of kills. Unlike the Big side, right? Big always goes for those early eliminations. Game Lord also a strong team with a completely different play style. So this next circle will shift. It goes a little bit north. You can see on that mini map right there. V100 will get a nice favorable shift, and I think this is going to prompt Game Lord to fight for this position that the 100 is in.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a major, crazy, intense shift coming through just yet, but it does throw a few spanners in the works. Of course, now we see the players here from Real Tiger 9 getting caught out in the blue 7 up just ahead of them. But here we go. Septive's now trying to quickly reposition, trying to utilize this tree while advancing closer to zone. But with that, the damage comes through. Blue zone swoops on in. And with now we see Real Tiger 9 down to Nascot. But I mean, this is definitely not a position you want to be in to try and fight from. I mean, 7 up, they've got a good gatekeep right on the edge of the zone, but they shouldn't be too distracted. They still need to try and find that rotational path into the wood zone. As we can see, we got the 100 Big, Game Lord, as well as Golden and the Eastern Stars just up ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned RT9, and they're so close to where the circle is. You think a team that lands in Pachinki would have better positioning, but it was that fight with Mega Power in the beginning. Like we mentioned, it didn't go Military Island, but slowed down their rotation just enough that even though the zone is ending right next to where Pachinki was, they're being gate kept out by so many other teams because they had to take time to loop, to readjust after taking that fight with Mega Power. So Mega Power, even though they didn't take down any of RT9, it is still causing a domino effect and hurting RT9 towards the end game. We have Chasmot Gaming here, rotating straight into zone, kind of a full send style with Eastern Stars playing a wider split. This may or may not work out. The screen's looking a little bit fuzzy right here with how, I mean, I think that's it for Chasmot Gaming. Before we can even figure out what's happening, Chasmot goes out with that full send. Eastern Stars holding a nice split and adjusting quite well to that full send.
Yeah, that's what I would call a full send right up into the lobby. I mean, the entire team got stopped dead in their tracks. Beautiful play coming in there from the Eastern Stars. But of course now, as we look a little bit further on towards that southern side, we can see the players here from Uncanny as well as Team Bravos now trying to find a good hiding spot, as there's not much to really utilize. A few from aside rather from the few shacks we got spread out, and of course those hay bales out in the open field. But now we see Super Michael now actually landing a beautiful hit right up on towards Ikitori.
That AK headshot from distance is always a good feeling. It's always nice to watch those shots pop through, but switching to that M16 realizes a bit longer range, seeing if they could scope someone out. And the 100 still here with 4 members, definitely playing a little bit passive, so they got 2 teams surrounding them. They have Game Lord right over the top of them, and another team, I believe that is, if we could take a better look, the 4 Romania men. That is a sandwich you do not want to be in between. V100, they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, this is a sandwich that bites back. So every chunk you take, you get a nice, beautiful response. But I mean, here we go. Game Lord Spicy now trying to push on up the 100 right up ahead. But with that, Icy Boss gets taken right on down. But this is where they need to be so careful because, I mean, aside from the 100, we also have Game Lord and, oh, I mean, the 100... This is definitely a challenging position to be in, and now the zone shifts up even further away just to add, I'd almost say, insult to injury here.
Definitely, the added pressure is out. I think all three of these teams realize they got to move out with the 100 stuck in the middle. They're for sure gonna be hitting some casualties right there. And now, yeah, with the 4 Romanian men knowing that they need to rotate past the 100 with that zone shift, that spurs them on to go aggressive, and they take down 3 members of 100. 100 just down to 1 player. But Game Lord answering back, just grenading where the 100 previously was. I don't think 4 Romanian men were aware that there was another team above the 100, and now Game Lord getting the better of these trades.
Wow, Victor just hitting so hard, but of course up comes that blue zone moving in, and with that, the 4 Romanian men sends them backing, but they're not out of the woods just yet. Big now having repositioned closer to zone, have an absolutely fantastic angle right there on towards them. As we can see, Daddy IGL now also getting sent away. Reznov, of course, still alive, holding over on towards that eastern side. But look at the setup coming in from Big. I mean, they have these compounds on that northwest eastern side of the zone. The rest of the teams, of course, now having to kind of fight it out in the open. And I think it's going to be quite a bit of a challenging phase to finish up.
Yeah, I love where the circle is ending, by the way. This hillside is huge. It's a huge hill. Not a lot of cover, but there's a lot of different levels when it comes to terrain. So there's actually a lot of pockets of area where a 4-man team could be sitting in, as the rest of the players coming in from the blue. Not much they could do at this point. No cars, no vehicles. The 100 goes out in 7th place. Honestly, a pretty good performance. Like, I wouldn't put it past them to do a little bit better in the next few games. But compared to week number 1, the 100 looks like they've, resoundingly improved from the first week.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. A beautiful improvement coming in there. But now the pressure is going to be on. We've got 6 teams left. Big now getting ready to just move up on towards that hillside. As you can see, Swave also now moving the vehicle a little bit closer, but we still have several teams spread out up ahead. We got the players here from the Eastern Stars. We got the players there, of course, from Red Moon, but their numbers are definitely starting to dwindle. LMV starting off with only a 3-man team, still managing to hold on to all of them as the shots now come through right on towards Kapahala. Ooh, this could be actually a beautiful position now for LMV to try and capitalize on.
Yeah, what an amazing shot by Lucifigos. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's a really long range one, and not only just a knock, he also got the confirmation there. And I think Big also wanting to clean out the sides of their map. They see that circle shift has gone away from them. And as any experienced team knows, you can't just move into the zone until you clear out your sides. But Suave getting a little bit overly aggressive. He does land a grenade at least, so he does go down, but he does open one up as well for the Big side. If anything, this can at least slow down the Eastern Stars for the Big team to move into circle safely. But the Eastern Stars team, actually, they did not ever get, Lucy actually did not get that confirmation. It looks like Eastern Stars still have 4 players up. This makes them a very dangerous team to be messed with.
Yeah, definitely does. And of course, we can see the players here coming in from the side of Red Moon now, just trying to hold on, trying to get those placement points. But the shots are going to continue to fly, as we can see the players there from Uncanny now on that southern edge of zone, coming under quite a bit of fire. Even Red Moon now trying to tap right on through. But of course, LMV up ahead. And with that, up comes a sneaky, cheeky shot in from the Eastern Stars. The fighting is, of course, now going to continue. But Golden also having a good position up in the northern reaches of the zone.
You can see there's a lot of dips and indentations in this last final zone where it doesn't look like there's much cover, but they could use these hillsides. Big taking some casualties here. 1 player goes down. Mazzaro is knocked. Big down to 2. Can they get the revive on Mazzaro? Looks like they're moving into zone, but maybe a little bit too early as the Eastern Stars team's going to come in from behind them. They really got to worry about their flanks now. Eastern Stars up to 7 total eliminations, working in together as a 4-man team, no vehicles. But with the amount of different terrain level changes, they might not need it. They might just need some smokes and that's it, and they can breach on into zone. Big looks like they are down to 2 players now.
Ooh. And with that, of course, Eastern Stars tighten their grip, finding a beautiful knock, coming straight on into the side of Big. 4 players, of course, still alive. Up goes a Kapahala, getting knocked right on down. LMD now looking to push in from this western side of the blue zone, is making its way on up. We'll see where the net phase is going to be taking us, but for the time being, our 5 teams are going to be duking it out right here on the hillside. Of course, Eastern Stars now coming under fire as we have good retaliation coming in from Uncanny, but LMV, see Lucy now getting caught, quickly deploying those smokes, but yeah, I'm quite excited to see what this next part will bring, as Atlas now also gets knocked right on down as the Spear finds a beautiful play, and Big actually a bit reduced down to only Mishi.
Yeah, this is really good for the rest of the teams in the lobby. Big and Eastern Stars, arguably 2 of the stronger teams in this lobby, both forced to be taken down due to the side of the zone. So Big just down to 1. Now we do have 4 teams up. We have LMV, we have the Uncanny, we have a solo of Big and Golden. Zone shifts towards the western side, favoring LMV and the Uncanny. I think the Uncanny is the only team with 4 players up. Maybe they have 3. I think it is 3 actually. But they have the man advantage. There's a 3-man team and 2 duos, I believe, and the solo.
Well, I mean, the stakes couldn't be any higher. You can see Mishi now already 12 elims under their belt. Big, definitely not disappointing with regards to aggression, coming in, hitting so hard once again, making it up into these late phases. Only 4 teams now remain, but this is where Mishi now needs to try and play this one so carefully. If they're looking for those placement points, of course, finding an absolutely beautiful knock. That is a great opening, rather, to create there. Get the knock, use that to rotate and establish a stronger position in the phase.
Yeah, I love what he did there. He got the opening, and instead of pushing it, the Uncanny would be looking his way. He instead gets that opening, creates the pressure as a distraction, and readjusts to another area. Beautifully played by that Big member. We're down to 3 players, or 3 teams, so to say. It's a 3v3v1, but the Uncanny is definitely hurting right now. They're going to try and get that full reset. Hikatori, knocked right now, getting revived. Mishi did find a MK right there in that crate drop. Full level 3 armor. This could come in huge for him.
Yeah, it definitely could. But I mean, this looks like LMV could maybe have this one in the bag as they now step up, find the Elam right there onto the team of Big. And now they only need to go up against the Uncanny, but they do have a controlling angle on the high ground. Both teams, of course, positioned within the zone. The next phase about to be right upon us. But look at this. Uncanny as well as LMV. Neither of these teams really having a full health bar. I think it's going to come down to who can kind of outlast each other. It's a beautiful hit now, makes its way through, but good retaliation as well.
Yeah, it's a trade for trade. Fight's keeping it even right now. Started off with a grenade and a quick trade back with the rifle, except it looks like the Uncanny's going to be able to get their revive in. LMV doing the same. They're going to get their revive as well. Maybe a little bit tad slower. This could actually come into play. The next circle has shifted, by the way. And it's hard to tell, but I think it favors the Uncanny side just a little bit. So LMV is going to have to push on in ever so slowly. I wonder if the LMV team has more util. Japan, I think from that side angle, might come in huge. He's going to get a knock, and actually that's 2 knocks onto the Uncanny side. It's a 1v3 situation.
Yeah, now it all comes down to Scottzilla. Can Scottzilla hold on as LMV now get ready to push on forward? Up they go, looking to find those angles. Japan on the opposite end. The hits come through, and Lucy finds the finishing blow, sending them right back into the lobby. What a great game for LMV.
LMV as a 3-man team at the start of the game actually secures the chicken right there. Not getting too many kills or eliminations, but of course as a 3-man, what more can you ask for? They got the chicken dinner at the end of the match. I think it was the difference in height elevation. You saw how the LMV team had a slightly higher positioning, so they could take advantage of those peaks a little bit better, but well played to both teams. Surviving those zone shifts. I mean, this game started out with a potential military circle, so a lot of teams had to adjust really well to make it to the end game.
Yeah, and of course, one of those teams we saw getting caught out with those adjustments was the team of Real Tiger 9. I mean, they started off so strong defending Pachinki, and if only they'd stay there a little while longer, they would have seen the zone potentially coming their way. But of course, there's no way of telling that in advance. And, you know, it does, I think it leaves a little bit of a bitter taste. You know, they have a potential maybe regret coming through. Is like, you know, had the zone not taunted them to maybe try and rotate out of that position in Pachinki, I could have maybe seen things change a little bit differently for them.
Yeah. And another team I want to mention is the big team. Usually when we see big take those early team fights, it's just in the form of eliminations. It doesn't, you know, amount to much more than that. But this time around, you know, the big team took a team fight at a compound that actually came into play into the late game quite huge. So maybe, like, you know, I don't know if the big team will ever, you know, hear this, but I feel like if they prioritize more positioning along with the early fights, could work out better for them. Big, of course, getting a bunch of eliminations in traditional fashion. That is big, playing it really well. And Eastern Stars, their rotations, their positionings was really good too, and they made it to the end game with a lot of eliminations too.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see the confidence and the comfort coming from a lot of these teams. I mean, even if we look to Mishi, who was the last remaining player there for the side of Big, didn't seem to be too stressed making it through that last few phases. We had only 4 teams remaining, and Mishi just tried to move on up, trying to get into good position, getting that head, of course, up on towards the Uncanny, then using that momentum to kind of try and wrap around.
Yeah, I love that you brought up Mishi, because as a previous competitive player, you know, and I see it all the time, when a player gets an opening in that late game, their first initial reaction is to push that side because they got the opening. But if you think about it, when you get an opening on the team, immediately that team's attention and focus is on your direction. So Michi with a really smart play, didn't work out in the end, but I really loved seeing that. So before we continue more, we're going to go for a quick little break, and we'll come back with the points from that match. And for now, enjoy some of the highlights from match number 1. Welcome back, everybody. We just had an amazing game, number one. One question I had coming in today is Eastern Stars. They didn't get to play yesterday, and they had an elongated break, 5 days almost. And I think that break didn't slow them down any. They still had a really good game, number one. But of course, LMB taking the victory definitely had the spotlight on them.
Yeah, this was definitely a really good play coming in for the side of Germany. I mean, the scores just adding up even more so. So yeah, first match, absolutely great play for Germany coming through.
And LMV actually a little bit of a typo there. I can do some quick maths though. That's one of my skills as a caster. 15 plus 7 is 22. So LMV getting 22 points. Big getting 23. Like you mentioned, the Germany side coming in strong. Pretty much challenging almost, the day that France had through Game Lord yesterday. And if you guys recall, France and Germany right now, both teams or both communities that is trying to vie for that number one position. And I love this ongoing back and forth. We see this like almost every day. Teams will try and jump ahead of one another without fail. It's making for a really, really nice turnout for the tournament.
Yeah, it definitely does. But of course, you got to look at Portugal as well. Uncanny stepping up, holding strong, coming in with those 5 elims to their name as well. Some really good performances coming through. And of course, we have the players there from Golden Esports hard on the heels. So again, also a really good start off for the side here of Portugal. And I mean, I'm excited to see what the rest of these matches will bring. As you said, we see the communities going back and forth at each other. But surprisingly to see the French side actually on that right hand of the leaderboard.
Yeah, Game Lord and Chasmok not having a very first game. It's completely opposite to what we saw yesterday. Game Lord actually started off yesterday very strong and fell off just a little bit, and then Chasmok actually picked it back up. So yesterday was definitely like France's day. Looks like today might be Germany's day. And you mentioned Portugal. As a community, they have been struggling quite a little bit in this tournament. So it's great to see them take a 3rd and 5th for that match in terms of the points gained. So really good job to Uncanny and Golden Esports.
Yeah, but now the question comes in is, what are we going to be seeing coming through over on towards Miramar? Because already now the teams have had that opportunity to stretch their legs a little bit to, just get themselves accustomed to once again. And already Eastern Star starting it off quite aggressively. We also had the players there from Team Glor, who also didn't play yesterday, alongside Team Bravos and Uncanny. But so far, it does seem Eastern Stars, they've already gotten off to a really good start. So I'm hoping that we could potentially now see the players there from Team Bravos as well as Team Glor and Uncanny just continue to push even further forward. Seeing even though that Uncanny, they've set up a bit of dominance in this first match.
Yeah, Uncanny, with the elongated break as well, actually doing better Eastern Stars, so credit to where it's due. But now that we're on to the side of Miramar, a more difficult map, so to say, in terms of rotation and positioning, you have those different terrain levels, and just finding vehicles on Miramar could be, a pain as well. Not to mention the plane path. So Miramar, the most challenging map, in my opinion, for the day. Of course, you can argue Sandhawk might be challenging as well. But in my opinion, Sandhawk's a little bit more straightforward in terms of what you got to do and what the team has to plan for, potentially med stratting. But Miramar, such a dynamic map, so many different ways to play it. And Eastern Stars, being a PMGC experienced team, I think Eastern Stars starting off the day strong with a decent finish in the first map. I think they might just go ahead and take this one out from the rest of the lobby on Miramar. But Germany, I see it time and time again. It seems like if a community starts the day off strong, they can usually kind of keep up that momentum for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to try to feed off of a really great start. I mean, but as you said, Miramar is going to be a whole different slice of cake all by itself. I got to say, for me, out of the selection, Miramar is my favorite because it's the map that I when I play as a bot, try and do a little bit of ranking on as well. But I definitely enjoy the looking at the teams participating on Miramar, as it brings a whole bunch of challenges all by itself, and I feel that it's kind of unique to Miramar only.
I would say when I used to be a competitive player, Miramar would actually be my favorite map to play on. It may have not necessarily been my team's best map as far as points gained, average wise, but Miramar is always really fun. It really, challenges your brain in terms of how do you
Mm.
go from point A to point B? What are the different, scenarios that you could try and, push on through? And with the map being so big, almost every single time you play the map, you learn a little bit more about the map, even if you've played it 1,000 times over. I mean, the circle shifts are so dynamic too. Miramar, definitely one of my favorite maps to compete on, and I would have to agree with you. It's one of my favorite maps, or the favorite map as far as spectating goes and casting goes. I think Miramar always makes for exciting gameplay.
Yeah, so one thing I've learned from spectating so many Miramar maps is vehicles on Miramar, yeah, they a little bit on the oof side, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got so many dynamic vehicles coming in on Erangel, for instance, right? I don't know what they did when they came onto Miramar. They were like, you know what? We give them a big map, and then we got to challenge them with the vehicles, making it so difficult to move around. But that kind of adds to the excitement of Miramar itself.
Yes, and it seems like Miramar vehicles blow up more easily, but it's a combination of that and the fact that it's just so slow on this terrain. It's so hilly, it's so hard to drive with, and the lines of sight, right, on Miramar
Hmm.
is huge. If a team just gets the high ground advantage, they could spray your vehicle for a good 200 meters straight. You could be driving, like at 100 miles per hour, down the hillside, down whatever, and they could still see you the entire time spraying those cars. So vehicle explosions, vehicle kills definitely happens a lot on Miramar. The question is, though, the most important factor, I think, to Miramar is the plane path and the very first circle. I think this very first circle will determine a lot as far as what teams will have a better chance of succeeding at the map.
Yeah, I mean, even just looking at the map itself, of course, we got that northern section, which is quite mountainous. But I mean, don't forget about the southern edge. You can actually see,
Yeah.
like, when you look at the map, that you've got that whole dark section just wrapping around that southern edge. Now, that does bring along with it a few interesting plays. The teams really have to try and make their way through whichever way this phase kind of throws at them. And I mean, of course, center of the map is much more of a even terrain with a
Mhm.
few hilltops every here and there. But I mean, a decent flight path though to start off the day.
Yeah, very good flight path. Can't ask for a better one, to be honest. We saw in previous Miramar matches that a lot of teams actually favor that northeastern side to start off their drop location, and with this one, it's great for them. They actually get a drop on that northeastern side, and also they get a jump out of the plane first, so that gives them a little bit more time to rotate in from that northeastern edge. And with the plane path cutting down to the southwest, works out because we see a few teams that like to loot Chumacera and Valdemar. Los Leones a little bit off plane path, but pretty easy stretch in my opinion, as that's the only city down on that south side. So if there is a team that wants to go there, they shouldn't be too heavily contested. You see a few of the players jumping out of the planes right now. Campo Militar being taken, Cruz de Vale being taken, 7 Up doing a nice little split around the eastern side of Hacienda. Um, there is going to be a hot drop, though, in the
Mm.
side of Picado. Two teams. We saw them fight yesterday. We'll probably see them fight again today. I do think it's the Mega Power team and RT9.
Yeah. Ooh, and of course, we've got that beautiful shift heading down towards the south. So this is going to be quite an interesting match, as these phases are going to have a little bit of a extra complexity to it. But of course, up in towards San Martin, we do see two teams moving in there as well. But as you've mentioned, over in Picado, that is where we're going to be seeing the players here from Real Tiger 9 and Mega Power having yet another swing at each other. I mean, it seems like Erangel was not enough, right? They got to continue with this feud all the way up into towards Miramar as well.
Yeah, so yesterday Mega Power actually lost this fight. So Mega Power kind of on a losing streak when it comes to hot drop fights. Maybe this is going to be the one where they turn around. I mean, third time's the charm. This is their third time hot dropping after, you count in yesterday's matches. Mega Power right now kind of on the aggression. They have a 2-2 spread. pretty decent one as they do control the Coliseum. The rest of RT9 just right underneath them. What Mega Power need to do is just pressure the RT9. Don't challenge them straight up. Allow the two players from the Coliseum to provide supporting angles and supporting fire, and just play defensively.
Yeah, but what makes it also a little bit difficult is, especially when the fighting moves to the southern side, then the Colosseum is not really within reach, unless, of course, they can shoot or find those angles straight through the windows, like we can see Fela now trying to set it up. But Real Tiger, they just hugging the coverage there as they're moving through. We can see Mango as well as Setclips now just moving on. Nazgod right there trying to inch their way up to those higher levels. And I mean, this is going to be a real challenge for the players here of Mega Power.
So RT9 might be aware that it is a 2-2 split and that they have the man advantage, but this building itself is so difficult to push as well. You could be a two-man team and, defend very easily in a 2v4 situation. You just get the first knock as they run up the stairs, and you got multiple stairs, multiple tight angles to continuously fall back to, or you can take advantage of it. And you see it right there. I think that's more of a mistake on RT9's side. One player, I believe it was Mango, pushing in by himself. So that's an easy pickup for the Mega Power side. Now it's a 4v3 situation. I like to see the Mega Power make the adjustment. Now you see right now, Fella leaving the Coliseum. They have the man advantage. They're going to press this advantage a little bit further. They no longer will hold that 2-2 split, but Rex with a beautiful grenade from the Coliseum to the apartments. That is not an easy grenade by any means. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Rex looking to make a beautiful comeback, but I mean, what a play this is so far for the players of Mega Power. It looks like they are turning the tables on Real Tiger 9, already taking down Mango, and now looking to clean up the rest. Sceptives, of course, now just watching the staircase here, but with that, a quick rush coming through as Mega Power now make a breach, and this could maybe be the stand for them as they find the hit right up into Sceptives, and now it comes to AU to try and keep it all together. What a play this has been so far by Mega Power.
Yeah, AU with the M16 as well, not the best weapon for a close range engagement. And they're shooting the boxes. I think they wanted their revenge from yesterday. They did lose after all to Real Tiger 9 yesterday. This time around in a completely different fashion, not even having a single player on their side getting knocked. Quite dominant right there. Really good for the side of Mega Power as they, started off the hot drop in game number 1 and lost it. We're looking at Bravis now, trying to get some rotational kills. Of course, Lewis on one of the better vehicles on Miramar. That motorcycle goes quite fast, able to dodge and weave those bullets. Bravis. Curious to see what kind of split they have going on, because all we see right now on screen is Morphe Boy, and he's hiding behind a tree after he put off those shots. The Golden team definitely looking his way.
Yeah, I think Morphe Boy is potentially maybe trying to branch out a little bit, but of course quickly hopping into the vehicle now. I'm not quite sure whether or not we're going to see the Saint now heading right up towards Golden, because it does seem like Brothers actually have a really good spread coming through. Pyro on the opposite end there, and this could be a bit of a pincer maneuver potentially coming in on Golden.
So when Morphe was hiding behind the tree, he wasn't hiding. He was actually communicating to the rest of his team, like, hey, we got opportunity here to pinch these guys in. This is where they headed. I want you guys to come in from this angle, and they got a really nice surround now. Faria, though, the player that did not group up with the rest of the team, this might actually come in huge as he's able to come in at a wide off angle that Bravis might not be aware of. So Bravis needs to be a little bit careful. The rest of the Golden team, all they need to do is hunker down, stay alive. Don't let Bravis get an opening. So Faria can maybe work some sort of magic here. You see him swing super wide. Should get a nice sightline onto Morphe Boy, but how good are his shots going to be?
Well, this could be a beautiful play. I mean, Faria could make magic happen right here, as you said. But, I mean, Bravis, this 2-2 split is good at taking the engagement with the 3 players up ahead. But it's going to be a little bit of a challenge having Faria rotating in from this off angles. We can see Super Michael up ahead. A few of those hits already finding them straight on through. Beautiful. And with that, Morphe Boy gets knocked, almost gets picked right on up. And this is a beautiful strategy coming through now from the players here of Golden.
Yeah, this is why you want to be split. Like we say it time and time again, teams should not play too close together. Faria initially not being with the team allows for him to do this flank without the, Bravis team being able to realize. Now Bravis is on the back foot. You see with that flank, the side of Golden are going to take advantage of it. They're going to isolate Super Mikhail here. He's got that UMP though. It could come in big. 2v1 does not pull through.
Yeah, I mean, Golden having a golden opportunity to step up and maybe get a clean wipe on the place here from Team Bravos. But Lewis is going to be looking to retaliate, finds quite a few hits right up ahead as Golden now continues to move in. But with that, Lewis goes down and it all now comes down to Spyro. But you can see Spyro now realizing what's going on and heading further down the hill, trying to get into some good hard cover and potentially a hiding spot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it all comes down to one thing. Information is key. The Bravos side did not have complete info on the team of Golden. We saw in the beginning, they called out like, hey, there's a team pinched here. But exactly how many players, they weren't sure. If they realized there was only a confirmed 3 players, they might have been more aware of where that last player might be and watched their flanks a little bit more. But of course, very well done by Golden. It was almost like a bait and switch. I love how they played that. And of course, Faria with the, heads up, letting his team know, yo, just stall for a little bit, play a little bit slow. Let me make the first opening. I'll definitely get one for you guys. And it all works out. That's the second team down for the map of Miramar. Multiple teams still rotating in. And oh, DK, tell me a little bit about that circle.
Oh, Zuite, this is nasty. I mean,
yes.
it's nasty for the teams, but lovely. It is heaven for us, right? Because this is going to be an absolute brutal play. And of course, starting it off over on towards that northeastern side is going to be players here from Uncanny and 100 as they're fighting on the edge of the blue zone. But we see those rotations coming through 7 up. Now it's just heading right past Los Leones. But 4 Romanian men already heading up into the mountains, heading to try and find a strong foothold in that center zone. And I think that could be absolutely essential.
Yeah, free real estate with that circle shift. And, ooh, big. Getting some free elims here as that car is not supposed to be parked next to a tree like that. You can see they definitely put themselves in a really bad position with the Greek army. It's funny because there's not even that many trees, right? And they somehow hit the one tree. Like, I mean, just look at this map. Look at how little trees there are. And the Greek, unfortunate for Greek army, we don't know what might have caused them to hit that tree. In fact, maybe one of their wheels got shot out by the big team and they just couldn't steer it well enough. But Greek army down to just 1 player. Big picking some free eliminations up.
But I gotta say though, I mean, that takes a certain level of skill to park a vehicle next to a tree, but to park it in that way next to a tree, to me, that's like next level skill. So I gotta give that to Greek Army. Well done for the parking. Unfortunately, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose because you can't hide behind it, as you can see that angle coming on through. But yeah, we'll have to see whether or not they can survive the onslaught of those hits flying in. Speaking about onslaught, of course, we see Trazen here from Chazmac now keeping a little bit of a watchful eye as they find the players from Game Lord up ahead. And, I mean, blue zone, late rotations, it's not really something that's out of the ordinary seeing that on Miramar, but ideally you would obviously like to be ahead of the blue and not in the blue.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also the worst feeling as you're coming out of the blue, there's a team in front of you and the circle just hard shifted away to the opposite side of Miramar, right? But that happens so much because the map is so big, it's hard to rotate. Even if you got vehicles, it takes quite a while. We're looking at a fight between the 4 Romanian men and 7 up. Now, 4 Romanian men getting the opening and the positional advantage, and they're going to press on in. So, forced to go for that drop shot, but gets shot in the side and in the front. 7 up, down to just 1. 4 Romanian men are going to be able to get that revive on their player, and yeah, 7up realizes not much left to do. He's going to try and rotate away and play for the placement points.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to call this player Bob because I cannot read the rest of the name as they now continue to move on through. And it's going to be quite a challenging play to make, but of course, Narvalo coming in for the side here of Game Lord is going to be looking to maybe get Resin up. But a good play coming through once again. Golden setting themselves up on the edge of the phase on that safe zone. I mean, this really makes it quite challenging for Game Lord, not only to find a good way in, but also they need to now come up with a strategy to help best. Ooh, go up against that. With that, of course, Bob from 7UP gets sent right away as Game Lord now continue to make the efforts to get into zone.
Yeah, I love what Golden did, by the way. Like, they realize they're on the edge of zone. They don't have a really good priority towards the more central area of the circle. So instead of even bothering to rotate further, they're just going to look for, you know, the elim opportunities and the gatekeep opportunities. And that circle, okay, we thought the last shift was bad, DK. I think this one makes it even worse. It's a 50-50 almost between the island that never gets played on, all the way down in the south, and the... Ooh, this is great. I'm so glad to have you on today, DK. I mean, I think you've blessed us with some irregular circles, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, it must be the Africa luck that's coming on through. But of course, you know, it's almost like a unicorn zone. We don't almost ever see that happening.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite exciting to see what the teams will make of that. Meanwhile, I mean, we still have 13 teams left, and now up comes those really tricky rotations. You can see Game Lord also just trying to fly down the hillsides. But, I mean, the 100, they are finding a few hits up on towards LMV. As you can see, wow, several hits actually making its way on through.
Yeah, LMV right now on the low ground. 2 of their players locked. We see 100 trying to take advantage of this. I love how they're not just pressing directly in off of those knocks. Instead, they're going to readjust and get more angles and slowly choke them out and pinch them in. LMV desperate to get their revives going through, and they still haven't even started one yet. They were playing a little bit split. The first revive does go through. Perks, I think, will not be able to get revived as the 100 team closes in on this. They smell elim points right here. Icy Boss pulls up first. Japan hops out of the window, tries to retaliate quickly. Daddy IGL also coming into the fray. They've got the long-range support, and Japan quickly realizes that as he goes down to the side of the 100.
Oh, yeah, the 100 just coming in with a very strong play on it towards the place here from LMV. Now, of course, Phantom is going to be ghosting them, now making a run for that coastline down towards the southern side. Meanwhile, the Eastern Stars and the 4 Romanian men are going to be fighting it out on the hillside once again. But they got to be careful because a little bit further down on towards that southeastern side, we do see the shots finding their way on in. So this is definitely going to be a really challenging play as the hits come through. Redox gets picked right on up. And now 4 Romanian men reduced down to 3.
Yeah, 4 Romanian men put in a bad position. Redox did not want to do that push, but he was getting shot in the back by long distance by Red Moon. So he was kind of forced to take that engagement, definitely unfavorable. And we get the next circle shift. Will it go down to the south side? It does not. It is going to center on up almost onto the main island. And we still see so many players out in the blue zone.
Yeah, even Team Glor, I mean, they've come up with a bit of a split there. We can see one of their players getting knocked out up in towards Val del Mar. But we got another one moving all the way down towards Los Higos. So that could be an interesting rotation, sneaking around from that southern edge. But I'm not quite sure whether or not they're going to be able to beat the blue. For the time being now, 4 Romanian men are still going to be coming under fire. But still, this is an interesting region to be in. We've got so many teams now starting to converge on this point.
Quick shout outs to Game Lord. They actually managed to make it in the zone. I think the entire time we saw Game Lord trying to rotate in, they just constantly been having to take detours as teams in front of them have been trying to gatekeep them. So Game Lord, very experienced team, managed to navigate multiple gatekeep scenarios and have found a nice position on the northern side. Red Moon right now at the very center of the zone. The very crucial at a very crucial point too. Those compounds actually hold a lot of control, 360 all around them, so they'll have a lot of play options to be made. Eastern Stars trying to gatekeep the teams out from the western side of the map, taking a fight with the Uncanny, also the big team in the distance. So many teams over here. Eastern Stars set up on the high ground though, very experienced team. I don't put it past them to be able to be successful in gatekeeping these teams out.
Yeah, because already see them coming in and almost single file, just as they head on it towards this western side of the zone. But of course, I mean, Scottzilla and Doctor, ooh, they have their work cut out for them. As we can see, not only the players from the Eastern Stars, but we also have Mega Power sharing position here. And of course, Big, ooh, Mozaro gonna be flying down with the bike, trying to sneak up in towards the zone, just inching their way a little bit closer and closer. Golden, of course, right up ahead. Not a lot of options really as to where to move to. As you can see, it is gonna be some very slim pickings for good position.
Yeah, right now the camera's pretty much on all the players that just recently came out of the blue. They have yet to find a home. Everybody else is set up and they're chilling. So not much action going on there other than the team's still trying to make their way in, and with that mini-map display on the bottom right, gives you a good idea of how teams are spread out right now. Western teams, Chasmog and Glor, still not fully yet in the zone. Looks like Big did get into the zone right there on the edge. One player from Game Lords actually get knocked, but that's a long-range knock. They should be fine. And oh, Glor actually has a 1-1 split. I'm pretty sure it's not intentional. Or, hold on, this is the Greek army. I'm sorry, both their colors so familiar. But there's a player of Glor on the south side on the bridge, just sneaking on into the zone.
And that's quite a challenging bridge to rotate across, though. I mean, there's several vehicles that you can use as hard cover to kind of move from point to point to get across. But once you make it onto the land itself, I mean, you're out in the open, and the shots can, of course, start to find their way on through. I mean, Greek army also over on that western edge, definitely facing a little bit of a challenge there. But Uncanny Doctor taking quite a big blow as that grenade finds its mark. And the zone now shifting up even further with that Doctor gets knocked right on down. And Scottzilla also gets picked up then by Athos.
Eastern starts choking that team out right there, gatekeeping them from coming into the zone. And right afterwards, Kapahala already on the scout, already getting more info for the team. Eastern starts working together like clockwork. Love seeing it out of this team. Mega Power getting a knock onto Eastern Stars, so I think they realize the next team that they kind of have to worry about to try and get into zone, as both Mega Power and Eastern Stars not in the zone. They're going to be vying for the same area. And there is a player of Chasmok, I believe, in that green on the top right side, Mazzaro. Last player of Big, utilizing the jump, punch, run technique. Basically what this does is it cuts down on the amount of footstep noise, because while you're in the air, players cannot hear the footsteps, and it works out for him. Gets a nice little cheeky elimination onto the player of Greek Army.
Yeah, so I think the next few air punches we're going to be seeing come through won't necessarily be for footsteps. It's going to be celebratory coming through there from Mozaro. But of course, look at this play coming in from Shadowwind, sneaking up behind Mega Power, going big brain with the plays, picking up a beautiful knock right up on towards Rex. Now, let's see whether or not Chasmac can push all through. Shadowwind trying to send out those utilities, trying to blow up the vehicle as well, but unfortunately is not really able to find the hits, but gets yet another knock before getting taken out.
Huge play from Rete. He was wide exposed in the open. Actually, the shots, the retaliation shots got the player so low, he was not as confident on continuing to take those peaks, to take those shots. I mean, he didn't have any first aid kits, so that player does go down. Good job by Mega Power. Now the 100. Once again, into the late game. This is looking like a completely different team. The consistency out of the 100, I absolutely love it. Taking a fight with one of the best teams in the lobby, too. Game Lord. 4v4 situation. Game Lord has a 3-1 split. And the 100, they don't have to take this fight either, but I like how they're exploring the option of potentially clearing out this side of the circle, because after this circle shifts, if they can eliminate the Game Lord now, they'll have much more time to work with on the next shift.
Yeah, prioritizing, you know, the difficulty of this next potential phase. But of course, now as we look on towards the players here from Mega Power, we see them trying to play up on towards this north or western side. Already 8 elims to their name. So this so far is turning out to be a really good day for them. I mean, yesterday they came in with 11 elims already in one match over on Miramar. They are able to get really close to that. Of course, another knock following right on through. Game Lord right up ahead of them, but of course the zone has shifted over on towards the southern side, favoring the players here now coming in from the side of Red Moon.
Yeah, that's a hard shift to the south too. Now Game Lord and the 100, you know, I was mentioning it earlier. They want to take the fight earlier on to see what they can do, so they have more time to work with. And now with that shift, you know, they're kind of forced to fight each other. Eastern Stars still trying to work in from the side, constantly not getting the circle, but they have the high ground, so they have sight lines to work with. But you can see that's a steep drop down that cliffside, and with Golden and Red Moon both looking up at them, it's not going to be easy. They do lose one car already. I do believe they're trying to get an opening to relieve some of the pressure before making their way on in. Golden with an absolutely beautiful position, with only 3 players up though.
Yeah, I mean, but that is prime real estate in the hands of Golden. If they can hold that position, you can see the good amount of access they've got onto the rest of the zone. And of course, now 4 Romanian men are going to be looking to sneak in up on towards the north, trying to set up a bit of a gatekeep here as there's so many teams coming in behind them.
That hay bale right there is godsend for them, right? I said it at the beginning of the map. You kind of learn a little bit more on Myanmar every time you play it, and that hay bale is definitely a hay bale I'm not familiar with, but it might come in huge for the 4 Romanian men. The 100 right now trying to gatekeep out the team of Game Lord. Got a little bit of a favorable shift as it went south. Golden taking massive amount of shots to the Eastern Stars, but look at that smoke path. Eastern Stars are just slowly trying to make their way in. One player going prone there. I don't think that was a move that slowed them down too much. Kalpahala, last player up for Eastern Stars. 2 players knocked. He might be able to get the revives off, but they're not even in the zone yet. Game Lord getting continuously punished by the 100.
Wow, the 100 just rolling with the punches. Of course, now Kapahalaya from Eastern Stars trying to make a play, but the big bad blue zone swoops on in to finish it off. With that, we now have only 4 teams remaining. The 100 coming in from the northern reaches. We can see Golden, we can see 4 Romanian men, as well as the players coming in here from the side of Red Moon. All the teams positioned within the zone. And now I think it's going to come down to playing those angles, as this phase looks to be quite challenging.
Where will the circle shift towards next? I think no matter where the circle shifts towards, it's going to be a huge indicator of how this match is going to go, because the center of the zone is a no-play zone. It is low ground that is wide open, no cover. And speaking of which, the circle does go towards more in the center of the zone. It does favor the 100 just ever so slightly, but all of these other teams, they got their work cut out for them. They have so much space to cover with no cover at all left on the map.
Yeah, but I mean, this is true PUBG fashion, that zone just shifting up into no man's land. But look at this play coming in from Lewis, though, trying to get up onto the ramp. A good angle to have here, as we can see 4 Romanian men from here. We can see the players, of course, coming in from the side there of Red Moon, as Lewis now strikes down. Coco gets taken away, and here we are. We have the 100. Now looking to make a bit of a stand, as you said. They've got a controlling angle, but will they be able to capitalize on that? The shots continue to fly on in. 4 Romanian men having a knock come in, and Golden still looking pretty decent here.
Looks like that hay bale was not the hay bale to take. It was a nade magnet. They knew exactly where to throw their grenades, and that is 4 Romanian men taken out. The 100 dominant position right now. Red Moon still a team that has yet to make their way into the circle. You can see that with the smokes down, they're trying their best. They don't have the vehicles to use, but even if they make it into that circle, there is absolutely no cover right there on that western side. So Red Moon, I think they realize now they have to press and take a fight with one of the teams. There is no edging into the circle.
Yeah, but this is where Golden needs to be super careful. If they expose themselves a little bit too much, it could be that opening for Red Moon, but fortunately it does seem like they are quite capable of dealing with those threats coming through on that front. As we can see now, the players here from Red Moon, or rather the team, reduced down to only 1. Lewis looking to step up, and with that makes quick work of Ed, sending Red Moon backing. Now it is the 100 up against Golden, and a beautiful utilization coming in. As you can see, Reznov and Daddy IGL trying to hold the fort with that. Daddy now is the last one. The blue zone is starting to move on in, and Golden swoop on in, taking the winner chicken dinner.
Golden with an absolutely beautiful finish. Of course, the zones had to play a part in that. We saw really crazy shifts. So shout outs to all the teams that made it into the top 5. Definitely not easy navigating those circles. The 100, another consistent performance and even better than game number 1. So want to see if they could keep the momentum up. And Golden, this is a team that we don't see too often, in the top of the leaderboards, especially getting a chicken dinner. So Golden, something about today. They're playing really well. I think they had a really good game 1 too,
Mm.
or game 1 also. That sounds a little bit easier and better to say.
Yeah, definitely a great performance coming in there from the players of Golden. I mean, in the first match, we saw them finishing on that left-hand side of the match rankings. And, well, for the second one, they came in with 13 eliminations to their name. That southern position really working out goldenly for them. I mean, they just capitalized on that, worked the angles. And I think what was kind of a turning point is where they dealt with the players coming in from Red Moon over on that western side.
Yeah, they pressured Red Moon out. They prioritized which team to focus on. They realized the team of V100 had the zone, so V100 didn't really have a need to push into Golden. So Golden, nice prioritization right there. Really well done. But as far as Miramar goes, that was one of the more exciting Miramar matches with the zone shifting all the way to the south. I really wish it kind of shifted past that bridge and we see an ending on the island that never really gets shown or played on. But maybe next time. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back after a short break. Enjoy the highlights from game number 2. Welcome back, everyone. We just had a really good game number 2. Miramar, definitely a map that's really fun to spectate and cast, but the circles itself, I would have to say, was the star of the show. You saw the highlights. The teams were fighting from the northern and all the way down to the southern age, and Golden Esports right there, having a really good game. And in the highlights itself, they started their fight from the northern side of the circle. And taking a look at the match ranking, Golden Esports with 13 eliminations and the Chicken with a total of 28 points gained. Really, really amazing game for them.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like they stopped over at the Willy Wonka's factory, you know, picking up the golden ticket and making their way straight up to that chicken dinner. Absolutely beautiful play. As you pointed out, they started quite early with those engagements. But look at the 100, both the golden and the 100 coming in with 13 eliminations apiece. So some pretty hard-hitting gameplay coming through here. But this time, we don't see one particular region showing a lot of dominance over on Miramar. I mean, the closest region we have to that is going to be the side of Romania, where we have the Eastern Stars and the 4 Romanian men taking that 3rd and 6th place.
A combined total points of, I believe, 25 for the 4 Romanian men and Eastern Stars. A quick refresher for people that might not know, this is a community tournament, meaning the team points do get added up for each community. There's a total of 10 communities. Each community has a total of 2 teams. So the prize pool distribution is based on the overall scores of both teams combined. So it is somewhat of a team effort, of course. The teams don't necessarily, group up together as 8 players on a team. They kind of just play the game regularly. But we do see which communities do have stronger teams as the days continue to go on. Game Lord, right now, not a super great game 1, nor a super great game 2. So Game Lord, I think they might just be like a day 1 type of team, maybe. They just come out super strong, and then either the other teams start getting more comfortable and adjusting, or Game Lord's momentum, it just starts falling off.
It could maybe be that, or it could just be the addition of the Eastern Stars stepping in here, just, maybe bringing a different element to the table. But of course, we know that the Eastern Stars and Game Lord have been playing against each other rather on several other tournaments as well. So I'm not quite sure what's really happening on the side of Game Lord, but maybe potentially Sandhawk might have something good in store for them.
Yeah, Sandhawk is the next map coming up. Pretty much a wild card map, so to say. But the teams that usually do well are the teams that do know how to play aggressive together as a team. So moving on to the Sandhawk side of things, a completely opposite shift of the Miramar map. A lot smaller, a lot less, avenues of rotations, of, options, play options, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, I got to say, looking at the performances coming in from this last Miramar play, I mean, Mega Power, they found some good angles, some good eliminations coming through there as well. So maybe they can take that aggression right over on it towards Sandhawk itself. But I mean, we've seen the players there from the 100. They are heavy hitters. So I'm expecting some great plays to come from them over on the, Sandhawk, right up in the jungle.
Yeah, I also want to see if Golden can continue the momentum. They had a decent game 1, the spectacular game number 2. I want to keep highlighting this team for the rest of the day. Hopefully, it, not just carries through the rest of the day, but the rest of the tournament. We still got quite a few days left. And if Golden Esports, along with Uncanny, can start stepping it up now, we could see them shoot up in the rankings. And I can't pull up the rankings right now, but off the top of my head, Golden Esports and Uncanny, they're a bit further down on the overall community rankings, but if this pacing continues, they could shoot up to a top, 5 overall, top 3 even, if they really pop off.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with this match just being concluded, we should be running about that halfway point as things could definitely get quite exciting as we continue to move even further forward. I mean, Portugal really making a good stand here. We got Golden coming in with an absolutely fantastic play. Uncanny also performing quite well in the previous match, so a good trade-off between both these teams coming in. So maybe Sandhawk might have something fantastic in store for the side of Portugal as well.
Sandhawk also, over the duration of this tournament, we've seen a lot of teams not necessarily hot drop each other on Sandhawk, but I've noticed that a lot of the teams got very comfortable as far as their split drops go, and it kind of leads into scrappier fights, so to say, off the initial rotation, right? When teams are super spread out on Sandhawk and the circle pops up, it makes it much easier for one player to run into another on the first, few minutes of
Mm.
the rotation. So not a fight, they don't fight off the beginning, but the fights do ramp up very quickly. The split drops, by the way, on Sandhawk, I think it's more so of an occurrence of the teams playing the map so often over the duration of the tournament. We're into week number 2, day 2 already, so a lot of footage to review, a lot of VODs out there for this tournament. So I think the team's taking advantage of every little bit of loot possible on Sandhawk, because there's not a lot of loot on Sandhawk unless if you're dropping in one of the major drop locations like Painon, Boot Camp, or Paradise Resort.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see a different play coming through on Sonic, as you've rightly pointed out. The loot situation is at times a little bit more challenging, but also another good way of getting loot is taking it from one of the
Right.
opposing teams. So there's definitely an interesting dynamic that comes in moving into a map that lends itself even more to that close quarter engagement. So the teams have that opportunity, as we've said, to get quite aggressive, to go out. But yeah, that first initial setup is going to be absolutely essential if they're looking to have decent moving into that first potential engagement.
Yeah, so we saw in that last Miramar game, the circle went somewhere that we've never really seen go to. Now that I have you on the broadcast, DK, I'm praying and hoping for a northwestern Sandhawk circle. It's a circle that's actually, I don't know what it is. Like, come PMGC time or come PMPL time, we see that circle
Mm.
happen like maybe 30%, 40% of the time. It actually happens quite a lot, but so far in this tournament, it has not happened once. And it's a circle that these teams should be familiar with. It they play a lot of scrims, more often than not they'll get it every now and then, so the teams will be prepared, I think, for a
Mm.
northwestern circle, but it has not happened yet in this tournament. So there might be some cool fights that might happen, some adjustments from some of these teams. So that's the one that I'm really looking forward to, this Sandhawk. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't, but Sandhawk is always going to be a fast-paced, action-intensive map.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. This northwestern zone could be a quite an interesting one to see. I mean, looking at Camp Alpha, Hatin, and of course also Ruins and Camp and the Boot Camp kind of feeding up on towards that island. That whole trifecta region is usually quite a kind of sought after angle to have to kill, especially when the zone or the phase moves in that direction. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I want to see that northwestern phase come in.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the matches yesterday, but yesterday's Sandhawk match ended right in the dead center of Lukawi. And if you don't know where it is off the top of your head, it's on the very middle of the map on the far eastern coastal side. So it ended like right there in that little city. So maybe we'll see something cool here today as well.
Well, of course, starting it off, we've got a very, very centralized flight path coming in. But what's nice about Sanhok, flight path doesn't matter all too much, right? As you said,
Mhm.
that first initial zone, that is where money is at. And of course, we really see a good concentration of teams starting to hop off the plane, moving out in their respective directions. And all we're going to wait for now is to see where that first initial zone is going to come. Hopefully, it stays away from that Lakawi side and, heads up in towards the northwestern edge. Of course, the plane has almost left the map, so the zone should be appearing momentarily.
Mm. Take a look at the splits, by the way, as we're starting this match, right? You see those players really spread out. And I said there's no hot drops that happen usually, but Paradise Resort, we see one happening right off the beginning of the game. We have Golden Esports, the winners of the last match, getting into a little bit of a fight. They do lose one player already. Trying to see which team. Oh, they're actually fighting Big. So I think Big
Hmm.
definitely does not usually land here. So Big are the intruders here, like, taking it very aggressive to the side of Golden Esports.
Yeah, we got Golden, we got Big, we got Game Lord just hovering around on the outskirts there. So, yeah, the stakes are definitely quite high starting it off a little bit of that crazy action coming on through. But it does seem like the players here from Golden are keeping their cool. You know, just looking to rotate around. Haven't found much loot just yet, but look at this now. Big moving in, trying to get the players. Mishi comes in from the high ground. Out comes the rush. Oh, will he get it? But Lewis coming in with that S12K. That is a difficult weapon to use, especially at range.
And Big actually gets third party by Game Lords. You mentioned it. Like Game Lords being really close by, and this is what I was talking about. The splits. Teams are so split up that the second an engagement happens, there's at least one player from another team that's within like footstep or gunshot distance. And Game Lord's coming in. Big kind of had the surround on Golden, but Game Lord's definitely changing that. Beast also going down. Game Lord's picking up 2 eliminations on the side of Big. Big had it in the bag, but Game Lord split. They were in the right place and the right time off the beginning of the playing path. We didn't talk much about the circle. The circle is a pretty traditional circle, I would say. Nothing too interesting to really speak about there. Maybe we'll see some shifts that might, spice things up, but the circle is on the southwestern side of boot camp, so not dead center, but a little bit more towards the southwest.
Yeah, but it does seem also now for the time being like Golden decided to get out of Paradise. I think that was a relatively good call for them to make. I mean, it was pretty hot and sweaty right there. But now the players here from Big, they've now been reduced down to only Swave. As you can see, Mozaro slowly bleeding out. Ooh, but LMV up ahead. Oh, that could be a nice play coming through. Of course, 7 Up are going to be stepping it up as well as they find those heads right up into Team Glor. So definitely a very casualty-heavy start to this match.
Yeah, it's due to the splits that I was talking about. Teams are so split up on this map because they've done so much VOD review that they know where they can drop safely. But because they're so spread, the second the first circle comes up and players start moving around, the fights happen very quickly. And it's like 1v1s, 2v2s maybe. And the hot drop definitely caught the attention of Game Lord. They split in a way where they could hear the gunshots off drop, and they came in and picked up 2 onto Big. So casualty heavy indeed. And I think we just missed one earlier. I think it was LMV versus another player in a quick 1v1 on that northeastern side. Yeah, I think LMV took a kill off of maybe. Oh, I think they actually they finished off Golden. I think. Oh yeah, Golden's eliminated now. So yeah, that is Golden Esports. A really good game last game, but Sandhawk completely different beast, and they do not get the better end of it.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the jungle. It is going to be pretty rough and tough. And of course, as we look on it towards bootcamp, we can see the players here from Team Bravis as well as the players there from Mega Power. But Mega Power now starting to make the way up that hill, right? Now, we've seen quite a few teams fighting for possession of that hilltop just south of bootcamp. And I mean, if Mega Power are able to move in there, that could be a really good controlling point to take.
That hilltop is so strong, especially if you have a good team that knows how to space out and control both ends of it. We do see, earlier on in the PUBG Mobile days where that hilltop, a lot of teams don't know how to hold it, and teams will really falter as teams surround that top hillside. But I think the meta has shifted in a way where teams know how to play a little bit more split, know how to play a little bit better individually wise, and how to maintain the pressure without getting knocked. V100 and Painan, also a really strong position to be holding in this first initial circle. I would argue that Painan's actually the center of the first zone, so they have a lot of play options as far as, if they need to rotate east, north, south, or west. Painan controls a good amount of spacing right there. We see the Greek army at the trifecta, this bridge compound area. A very crucial position as well. I mean, Sandhawk, it just kind of all boils down to these positions: Mega Powers, Greek armies, Painan. In a circle like this, these 3 positions are key, and it just kind of depends on where the circle goes from there to see which team it favors more.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely essential to have a good controlling point. And I mean, this is where good old Swave is now going to be put to the test. Up comes Chazmag, as you can see that first rush. Ooh, DBS coming in. Trazen getting it dealt with so quickly. Shadowin, Focus, and the rest of Chasmac now just hanging back a little bit. But of course, the big old blue zone is starting to make its way through. First phase, not going to be doing too much damage. But of course, we do see that healing strat being quite a, definitely something that is utilized quite a bit right here on Zadak. But oh, Wave getting caught with his hands in the cookie jar.
It's in the cookie jar. I love that reference right there. Yeah, he was busy looting, checking through the loot, and Swave does go down. Chasmog also not too happy though, trading 1 for 1, especially when you kind of get ratted out by a person with a DBS hiding in the closet. That's never a good feeling. Look, taking a look at 7 Up. This is the southeastern side of the map. The next zone did pop up. We're not too sure exactly where it shifted, but 7 Up right here, playing a little bit more split. Takes a few shots from the Eastern Stars, but he's just going to back up right there. No real need to hold that position as the circle has shifted elsewhere.
I mean, that's one thing that I actually see quite a bit happening. Happening quite a bit more rather on Sanok is, as you said, those DBS shots coming out of the closet. The skeletons, always something to be very wary of. Whatever you got in the closet, you got to deal with that before it becomes a problem. As we saw those hits now coming straight on through. But of course, LMV are going to be pushing up onto the Eastern Stars, as we can see Kapahala and the rest of the team here now moving up. Phantom and the rest of the players here from LMV now up on the hilltop. Lucy also now quickly moving in. Ooh, this could be an interesting angle to come in from.
Yeah, I love the split by Eastern Stars. If all 4 of Eastern Star players were in front of LMV, that actually makes an easy opening for LMV to push over the top and eliminate them. But Eastern Stars just initially playing split, not because they're, anticipating a team coming in from behind them, but it's just, the natural way the Eastern Stars play. And you can see just this setup in advance of the potential of a team flanking from behind them. They're already set up in a way to stop that push, to stop that aggression immediately. So very nice formation as far as what the Eastern Stars do during their rotations.
What the Eastern does. Yes, indeed, sir. But of course, now, Real Tiger 9 are going to be rolling on through on this Eastern end. I mean, look at this, though. They got LMV as well as the players from the Eastern Stars positioned up ahead. So, again, this could be a sneaky approach coming through. LMV now opting out in the blue to go pick up Phantom before returning back in towards the zone. The 100 also going to be finding themselves alongside the players here coming in from Red Moon. But look at that. Nasgod and AU getting picked right on up.
Yeah, this Eastern Stars team just controlling the eastern side of the map. I think they realize with these circle shifts, we have no real rush to get into zone. So instead, they're going to stay out here, pick up a few eliminations, and not just eliminations, they're picking up med kits. We've seen the Eastern Stars do this before on Sanhok. When they do not get the favorable circles, they will elect to go for more of a aggressive, isolated 4v4. Not only do they pick up elim points as well, but they could stack up on the medkits. At this already with 7, I won't be too surprised if some of the other players have a few more on hand too.
Yeah, the most I've seen was 40, but of course, well, Athos not having the opportunity to make much use of those medkits at the moment as the knock comes right on through. Now it all turns to Doran to try and hold up this front line, but also up comes Bazzy as the hits come through. Mango gets picked up, and Captives is now the lone survivor for the side of the Real Tiger. You can take the Tiger to the jungle, but it doesn't mean they're going to be able to fight the blue zone. And of course, the Eastern Stars right up ahead of them. They pull off a quick res. Athos, super low. Oh, and this could be quite the turnaround for them. Look at the play, though. Captives coming in with a very cheeky shot. Up comes the mollies, but it is not going to be enough. Real Tiger getting sent away. And, of course, Eastern Stars having a very comfortable continuation now on this map.
Eastern Stars do lose 1 player, but I think for their strategy, it doesn't even matter too much. They're just looking for the medkits. As long as you have 1 player alive with the medkits, that strategy can come through. The next circle has shifted out towards the western side of the bridge. So looks like 4 Romanian men holding the central position. Of course, they can easily shift back towards the east. hard to say right now, but this Sandhawk ending, pretty familiar for all these teams, but as far as the way it's shifted towards that area, it might change things up just a little bit
Oh,
as Chasmok gaining Shadowin with some really nice shots right now, taking down Lewis from the Bravas team.
yeah, the timing on that hit was just so beautiful to witness. But of course, now Spyro having a good angle to sneak in from comes up to pull off that raise. But look at this though. Aza, Shadowin, inching their way closer, but
Oh,
up comes the rest of the team. Shadowin right on point, finding that grenade in an amazing position. And now, I mean, Super Michael and of course Morphe Boy have to try and defend their position here.
what an amazing grenade. That grenade actually bounced off the ground too, so a nice jump toss probably by the side of Chasmog Gaming. Bravis thought they had time for the revive. I would have thought too, because we saw the first initial knock. It was a really long distance knock. So can't even fault Bravis for going for a quick revive, but that grenade just absolutely beautiful. Just dunked on the Bravis side. Now Bravis down to 2, and Chasmog, they know this. They're looking for more.
Yeah, yeah, and here we go. Focus, we see Aza, we see Shadowin now just looking to tighten that position onto the players here from Bravos. But of course, Spyro, Aza still bleeding out. I don't think we're going to be seeing that race come through just yet. So it all now comes down to Super Michael and his teammate there to try and hold the fort. But of course, things are also looking pretty challenging over towards Painan. Painan in and of itself is also a little bit of a funneling point. A lot of it's a transitional kind of area. And I mean, holding a controlling position here could be quite beneficial as the 107 up now start going at each other's throats. Of course, we do see the players there from Red Moon positioned off on towards that northeastern side. Look at this, Reznov, bit of an air punch as he moves on through again, just utilizing, as you said, that sneaky approach through the compounds.
I like Reznov's position. I feel like his readjusting might make him miss out on a potential opportunity, but he might feel like there's a better one to be had in a different angle. We're back onto the Bravis fight with Chasmog. Chasmog finally managing to find another player of Bravis. Chasmog with a 3-player push right there. Morphe Boy with a nice lean peek, but he does still get taken down. Super Mikhail, last one up for Bravis, trying to run up to help his teammate, but a little bit too slow, a little too late. And the fight in Painan is finally fully breaking out between V100 and 7UP.
Oh, head after head, just rolling on through the 100, biting off the short end of that stick. But here, look at the 7UP. Quickly trying to get all their players back up onto full health bars as the mollies now come flying on through. Look at this Sparky with a jump shot. But he be able to pull it off? No, it gets taken on down, but beautiful play as Sohn also moves in. But look at this now. 100 turning the tables on them as Zanz is now the last potential hopeful.
Zan's in a 1v2 situation. Oh, make that a 1v1. And he's going to confirm that too. The player of Reznov trying to play the support, but I feel like the 100 kind of fumbled right there. He should have played a little more passive so Reznov could come and help. But Reznov right now playing aggressive. He does not want that player to get the revive, but that Molotov pops in a little bit too short, so it's going to be reset to a 1v2. Reznov, can he clutch it? Can he close it out? He actually gets a knock right on back, so back to a 1v1 situation.
Wow, what a beautiful back and forth this is. Of course, we can see Bob there from 7UP right up alongside Reznov as he now continues to make his way through. A good amount of information can, of course, be conveyed from these knocked players. You can see Reznov now trying to get over towards Icy Boz to try and even out the numbers here. But it does seem to be the same situation full side of 7UP as they've now got a 1-up on the 100.
I feel like Reznov should have played a little bit more aggressive, a little bit too slow. You saw him running back and forth, not sure whether to go for the revive or go for the push for the 1v1, and that ultimately cost them quite dearly. Good fight, though, between the 7UP and the 100. It was really back and forth. Definitely mistakes being made by both sides. So hopefully after they review that fight a little bit, they'll learn and improve a bit. Mega Power getting into fight with the Game Lord. Last player of Mega Power, actually. Rex with a total of 4 eliminations on their side. So I think they've got into a situation where they end up getting third-partied by Game Lord as they picked up multiple eliminations onto a different team.
Yeah, and all four of those elims, of course, sitting comfortably under Rex's belt as we now quickly jump on over to the players here from Red Moon. Getting head over on the bridge, and Chazmac continue to push even further forward. They haven't yet made their way up in towards zone, already being able to pick up those 6 elims along the way. Of course, now Ed, oh,
Oh,
getting knocked as a laser hit comes in from Shadowin.
Shadowin. I definitely got to message that guy and ask what kind of grip he's using because those shots were pristine. I think he fired off maybe 6-7 bullets in that burst, and it connected beautifully. Chasmot Gaming now on the aggression after those knocks as they're trying to find that player hiding in the water, and there he goes down, confirms that knock. And we do have the next zone coming, or the next zone shift about to come up on your screen right there. You can see it on the bottom right. Beautifully done by the cameraman. Shout outs to you, Killer, for the camera work. And we do see the shift right onto the 4 Romanian men. That is actually on top of a mountain, the apex of that mountain right there. So let's see how this team ends up holding all of these other teams out.
Well, with that, Rex now goes extinct as the players there from Mega Power get sent back into the lobby. Of course, Chazmac still looking to find their way back in towards zone. I mean, that is an absolutely fantastic zone to have. I'm pretty sure the 4 Romanian men are feeling super stoked about their position. But now the rest of the teams still having to fight their way to get into that zone. Of course, players here from LMV positioned over on towards the western side, relatively close to ruins, as we can see it just to the north of them. But firstly, they have to go through several hurdles to make it to zone.
Several hurdles indeed. All of the teams on the edge side. There's actually not a single team in that zone except for the 4 Romanian men when that circle popped up. So everybody's going to be fighting to edge onto that side. 4 Romanian men has a really good opportunity to pick up a lot of kills from distance if they play just aggressive enough but without overstepping. Right now, we've got multiple players also in the blue. Maybe some heal stratting coming out for some of these teams now. As you see right here, Shadowin with 18 first aids, using the bandages first, using the booster to heal on up. Chazmok down to 2. That last player, Shadowin, will do the med strat. Maybe Azur could pick up a kill before he goes down, but it goes down to Super Mikhail. And Shadowin might actually be able to get this one. Make sure to hit that first aid first before taking a shot so he doesn't go down to the blue zone. Uncanny on the northwestern side, fighting their way in from the blue zone. And the next circle comes on up, and I think it ends up going to the very tip of that mountaintop where the 4 Romanian men are.
Yeah, it could very well be exactly that play. But of course, now look at that. 4 Romanian men having their anchor points set up within the zone. I mean, Doobie now just trying to clear up the edges as there's quite a bit of carnage coming in across the board. And of course, the players here from Uncanny now having the knocks fly in their direction. Already 2 players down. Will they be able to bring those numbers back up? Of course, looking at the players here from Red Moon. Alejab just trying to make that play, but Doobie just, oh man, going to town here.
Yeah, you see how active Doobie is looking back and forth. He realizes he's actually quite exposed. He might be on the high ground, but multiple angles. And Alejab, he does not want to take the shots just yet. He wants to survive a little bit longer, maybe get an extra placement before taking those shots onto the 4 Romanian men side. And beautiful shots right there. Doobie being very active, putting out a lot of pressure everywhere. For 4 Romanian men, up to 6 eliminations, and they still hold 4 alive with a dominant position in the circle.
Yeah, he do be in a good position right there. Of course, now Team Bravos are going to be trying to make a run. Finds the angle on it towards Joker as the Uncanny now gets yet another player down. But with that, Super Mikhail comes under fire, quickly dealt with as the 4 Romanian men look to just capitalize on their controlling angles. I mean, we still have 5 teams left, but we can only see 3 of them currently on the map.
Yeah, the med strats are coming through from multiple teams. Actually, really happy to see. It's just the competitive side of things, right? Try and maximize whatever points you can, even if it is in the form of med stratting. Eastern Stars, though, and the four Romanian men, I think this is what it's going to come down to. Actually, 7 Up, he's going to play a crucial part in potentially spoiling Eastern Stars' chance at securing this chicken dinner. Eastern Stars down to 3, and they already have the work cut out for them because they have to push into the four Romanian men's side as they got the circle best. But Hidekori might actually do something for the Eastern Stars too. So two different teams coming in from the flanks on both teams that could play spoiler. And he pops off those shocks. That's the opening onto Redox.
Ooh.
Doesn't get another one, but that's an opening though for the Eastern Stars, and they realize it. Oh, and a double knock from Doran. That changes everything.
Well, either way, this is looking absolutely fantastic for Romania, but it is going to be a fight now between the Eastern Stars and the four Romanian men for controlling angle. As already see Eastern Stars just capitalizing on the carnage. But of course, Shadow, we're not going to be backing off any of these opportunities. However, does neglect that med kit and gets sent right on away.
What a finish for a Sandhog. I think that's the most amount of med stratting I've seen in this tournament. So over the course of the weeks, all the multiple days being played, teams have been making their adjustments. Usually it started off with just only one team doing the med strat, but I think more teams have learned how to play the Sandhog map, so when they have to, default to that med strat, they are prepared. For Romanian men, looking like they were about to win the game, and then just like that, they get taken out in, I think, the 4th place placement point position. So things changed really fast on Sandhog. That double knock definitely changed everything for them.
Yeah, that was quite a big turning point right there for them. But I mean, I gotta give credit where credit is due. That was an absolutely beautiful play of these late few phases, just moving on through, continuously finding angle upon angle. I mean, even looking at Shadowwind's position, causing so much trouble from all the way out in the blue zone.
Shadowwind putting in some really good shots. He had the 18 when the camera went on him. And Eastern Stars, they take this match. But remember, they had their work cut out for them from the very beginning. They were fighting way in the blue on the Eastern side. So actually quite surprising to see they made it in with the 3-man team and then eventually got the chicken as well. They didn't even have to med strat, but I'm sure they were prepared for it if the worst case situation arises. So really good job to them. And don't go anywhere, guys. We got one game left to go. We'll be right back after a quick break. So take a look at some of these highlights from match number 3 of Sandhog. Welcome back, everybody, to the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. We're nearing the end of the day. We still got one match left to go. And DK, I know this is your first time on the broadcast. How are you feeling about the 3 games that have just been played?
Well, I gotta say it's been pretty entertaining to watch, and of course the teams, not disappointing at all. Stepping up, delivering on the aggression side, delivering on the dynamics as they make their way through this, and we've seen some really interesting plays coming in just these past 3 matches.
And taking a look at the match rankings, actually, the last game of Sandhawk, you called it out towards the end game. It's going to be a good way or a good game for Romania, no matter how it ends. For Romania men, we thought they would take the chicken with 4 up in the end game with the zone priority, but so many players in the blues still healing, and just one of them opened it up onto the 4 Romanian men, and then Eastern Stars hit a nasty double knock, and just like that, 4 Romanian men were taken out very early. As far as I think the top 3, I don't think even, they didn't even finish in top 3 placements. 15 points is first, 12 points second, third place was 7 up with 10. So 4 Romanian men looked like they were going to get a chicken dinner to finishing out that last Sandhawk match in 4th place as far as placement points go.
Yeah, it was pretty neck and neck all the way through. But of course, a really good performance coming in there from Chazmac Gaming as well, bringing in some good points for the side of France. We did see, things still looking pretty tough coming into today as we had a glance at the overall standings, of course. But yeah, a really good start off on Sanok, but now the teams having that opportunity to prep themselves up for this final rumble over on towards Erangel. I gotta say though, I'm quite impressed with Uncanny's performance coming in this last match. I mean, that sneaky last play on towards the 4 Romanian men was absolutely amazing. Not only for the Eastern Stars to bring it home, but I mean, a good utilization of those off angles.
Yeah, Uncanny doing really well. And as far as today's goes, I think it's been really back and forth between the communities. We saw in game number 1, Germany came in huge, and I was predicting maybe this will be Germany's day because, yesterday we see when one community starts doing well on the very first match, they kind of carry that momentum over, but it's been really back and forth. Germany right there on that screen, right? Big with 4-point finish and LMV with only 2. So definitely falling away towards the lower end of the finishes. But with 1 match left to go, going back to Erangel, maybe this is where Germany will feel a little bit more comfortable. But the Romanian teams have definitely warmed up. Chazmak as well from the French community side, 22 points on that last Sandhawk game. So kind of up in the air as far as what teams I feel like is going to do well on Erangel. It'll mostly come down to probably just the zone shifts at this point, because I think everybody's playing pretty in form.
I'm curious to see what's going to be happening over in towards Pachinki, whether or not we'll have the players there from Mega Power potentially meeting up with Real Tiger 9, because we can see this time around the 100 and Real Tiger 9 representing the side there of the United Kingdom having a little bit of a tough run, both teams finishing on 1 point apiece. So maybe they can make a strong comeback moving up in towards Erangel. We know the players from the 100 are heavy hitters. They are quite aggressive. I mean, their performance in last week is pretty evident of that. So I'm pretty hopeful moving into Erangel that we could have quite a bit of a surprise performance coming in from several communities.
Yeah, so it comes down to this last match. Of course, the tournament's nowhere close to being done. We're nearing the halfway point. And as far as last week goes, right, I think it was a really nice storyline as for those first 6 matches or those 6 days. It was a very developing community type storyline. We saw one community come out very strong on the first day, and over the course of the next 2 days, another community started picking up their side, and even communities that were, towards the bottom of the rankings, the teams themselves started doing better towards the end. So I'm hoping maybe we'll see something similar coming into week number 2, day number 2. It looks like it's a little bit back and forth right now, but teams are definitely getting more and more comfortable.
But it's, of course, also quite healthy, right? To see that constant back and forth. It means that there's no one particular community that is dominating the leaderboard, right? So we see a good share across the board teams continuously stepping up. But I gotta say, I'm also waiting for a bit of a play coming in from the Greek army, seeing that they're the only team representing the Greek side in this lobby, and it does sometimes feel a little bit lonely being the only representative of your region, as the
Mhm.
rest of the regions have their full numbers up in here, aside, of course, from
Yeah.
Red Moon coming in from the side there of Italy. But definitely, so far, no disappointment whatsoever. The team stepping up to the plate, they bringing in the aggression. I gotta say, I'm super excited to see what this final Erangel will bring.
We could definitely say some of these teams are not of the same caliber as other teams, and that's not to knock them down or anything. You mentioned Greek Army. This is a team that's been struggling the entirety of the tournament. But at the end of the day, as a competitive team, I mentioned it earlier, you're here to just kind of have fun and practice and learn and improve. And being, 2 weeks in, on to day number 2, it actually is really good to see, like the Greek army still here, still playing. They haven't, let in their performance demoralize them and stop them from, playing or potentially dropping out. I've seen that happen to other teams throughout my years of competitive experience. So I want to give, a nod and a shout out to all the teams that are not getting the spotlight because they're not doing as well, but seeing them still here day after day, playing 4 matches a day, every single day. It's just, it kind of warms my heart as a previous ex-competitive player to see, some of these players are not giving up, and we've all been there, whether it be PUBG Mobile or other aspects of life, right? You got to start from somewhere, so shout outs to them.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a absolutely fantastic learning platform for them here, right? They have that opportunity to go out there to see what works, to see what doesn't work, and there's nothing better than a bit of hardship because it makes you grow at the end of the day. So, the teams should feel pretty proud of themselves for being here because I mean, it's quite a big privilege to be here to participate, to represent your region,
Mhm.
and regardless of what the outcomes, I mean, I still think it's absolutely fantastic to see them on the battlefield.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Very well put. So we got 1 match left to go. Coming back onto Erangel, we saw in game number 1 there was a potential military circle finish. It was like about a 50-50 chance in the beginning, and then it did shift off the military zone. As much as I love military circles, I think a zone on Erangel that's even more fun to watch, that happens even more rare than military, is that northeastern circle up onto the Stalber side. I can fondly recall one game of PMGC
Mm.
where the circle did end up there, and I think that was the match where BTR really showed what they had in store for everyone, and they played that really well. But I just remember the dynamic of that northeastern circle. There's a lot of ridges, and it's not just one giant hilltop. So I don't know. I've been praying for some nice circles. We got an interesting one on Miramar. Sandhawk, it didn't really play through. We wanted that northwestern circle, but I'll throw it out there right now. Like, if we get a Stolber circle, or even a circle that ends north of Yasnaya, I'd be pretty content with that.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with you. The northern zones, they are just a whole different beast in and of themselves. And I wouldn't be too disappointed if it head all the way up in towards Stolper because, I mean, the last time I saw a phase moving in that direction was just last week on one of the games that I was broadcasting, and it ended up on the side of Stolper, and it was pure chaos. But it was so great to watch, to see the teams just trying to deal with the challenge that Stolper kind of hill brings.
Yeah, so Stolber, one of the zones that I really love to see. It happens very rarely. Another circle other than Military Island is a Kameshki, or not a Kameshki, a Jarki inning in the northwest. I think that's even more rare than all of those zones we mentioned. But we'll see very soon where this one goes. More than likely, it will be probably a very vanilla circle, nothing too surprising. But the plane path coming out on your screen goes from the north down to the southeast. A little bit more difficult for the teams to get to the western side, but there are plenty of roads and different car drop locations for these teams to stretch over to the west if that's where they want to go.
Yeah, of course, nothing wrong with a bit of vanilla, right? You can maybe just add a little bit of extra spice of flavor alongside that, and that could potentially be from the team's rotations coming through, and of course, also as those phases continue to make their way on in. Strangely enough, this time around, we don't see LMV being the first team off of the plane. I mean, they kind of broke the pattern we saw coming in there from them. But, well, of course, the players from Eastern Stars are going to be heading straight up into Stolba itself. So it's only a few more moments to go until we find out where exactly that first initial zone will be taking us.
Maybe Eastern Stars can do some voodoo magic for us real quick on that Stalburn mountaintop and get a circle to pop right up there. Big doing their traditional, split drop location in that Severny area. I love how they don't all just go towards into Severny. They kind of split down the roadside to secure more vehicles. The first circle is up. Quite vanilla. We might see an interesting circle where it keeps the river in play. Or maybe it might go to a Mount Everest circle. But other than that, I think we're in for a pretty traditional game. Big potentially getting into a fight, a quick 1v1 between Big and Gold. And Michi, I think, was rotating here because this is one of the split locations he goes for loot. But Golden, due to the plane path, kind of makes a little bit of a pit stop. And I'm sure they know Michi's here. I see that motorcycle right in front of him. He definitely probably pulled up in that motorcycle. So the Golden side definitely heard somebody show up. And at most, Golden knows it's just two players because there's a motorcycle right there.
Yeah, so this is where Michi is definitely going to be put to the test. But fortunately for Michi, it is only going to be a 1v3, so it's not a 1v4. I mean, that would have been a little bit rough. But of course, now the reinforcements, the cavalry, are on their way up. They come to show their support as they move in. Swave, of course, now on the one side, Beast on the opposite end. I actually think that is a very good call coming in there from Beast, moving in right behind them, lining themselves up so beautifully. And look at that, Chief and Marcio already getting knocked right on down. Now it is all down to Faria and, of course, Lewis to hold on, but the hits are making their way up into Lewis.
I absolutely love the way Big showed up to support their teammate. They came in fast. They're like, we got you, bro. We're not leaving you behind. You might only have a shotgun. You might be stuck in a 1v3. We might have just started our looting phase and we want to loot, but we're not gonna let a teammate down for free. And they pick up 3 eliminations right there. Very good out of Big. And if anything, Big loves to fight. This is probably a blessing for them. They're like, oh, cool. We don't have to rotate anywhere to find a fight this time around. They're going to come to us. We'll take it. Now we're looking at Mega Power taking a fight with 4 Romanian men. Mega Power, I think they've had to hot drop fight 3 out of the 4 games today. Definitely not getting a peaceful start that they're used to. And 4 Romanian men, interesting to see them down here in Novo, as I've seen Mega Power loot here in Novo in peace multiple times, even with the 4 Romanian men playing in the lobby.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Mega Power struggling to find a good spot to start off, right? So we did see some good success coming through over on Miramar, but of course now Zone also stepping up, taking Papa right on down as the players there from Uncanny loses their first. But look at this though, Fela from Mega Power keeping a very watchful eye now on the 4 Romanian men. Doobie pushing up to the roof, with the rest of the team just huddling up. And again, I mean, looking at this container yard, it is always quite an interesting place to see teams actually fighting it out here.
And they're not fighting in the crates, at least, because crate battles get even more difficult with those slim alleyways and those crates. And the second you want to take a peek on top of a crate, you're wide exposed. Instead, we're fighting near the compounds. So we'll slow things down, but it'll make the fights a little bit easier to navigate for these teams. This is quite interesting. They're kind of sandwiched in between each other. It's a 2-2 split from one another. Redoc's definitely not in the better position, forced to hop out of the balcony. So the first casualty will go over to the side of the 4 Romanian. A second one coming through. Now it's a 4v2 situation, and it's down to Doobie and his compatriot of GVVV.
Yeah, a lot of V's there. Definitely, but now we got to look to see what the 4 Romanian men are going to be doing. Will they be able to hold their own against the onslaught of Mega Power, as they've now had the opportunity to feel a little bit more revitalized, rather, as they now come in with a quick few hits here. Fella trying to line it up on towards Doobie. Rex, of course, is going to be knocked right on down. Let's see whether or not those razors are going to make their way on through. But an interesting play coming in from Fela, not finding the angle onto Doobie just yet, but that could change at a moment's notice.
Doobie peeking right now with no helmet, so it is quite risky as he is peeking out with pretty much only his head exposed. So Doobie's taking really fast peeks. Oh, I'm surprised Doobie managed to make it all the way over. Mega Power, though, they got nothing to worry about. One of their players got knocked, but in a 4v2 situation, the 4 Romanian men are having a hard time capitalizing off that knock, and instead they're going to try and fall back. But Reddy catches Doobie in the butt as he tries to vault that tower. 1v4 situation now, and GVV does go down. Mega Power not having the usual peaceful start, but I'm pretty sure they don't mind the 4 elim points they just picked up on their way without losing a single player as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they don't mind that at all. But of course, now speaking about minding, it is going to be 7 up against Uncanny. And we do see Soren positioned down below. Bob, of course, up on the hill, keeping a little bit of overwatch. Up comes a quick reinforcement as Zans now moves in. But I mean, I'm curious to see what the players here from Uncanny are going to be doing. 7 up, good spread that they have here.
Yeah, Doctor just doing a quick little backstep. I don't think that was intentional, but the Spidey sense is kicking in, so Doctor does not go down, but the spread out of 7 up is pinching in onto the Uncanny side. They're pushing in down from the mountaintop. Doctor caught in a really tough position. Molotov, and he can't even open that door because he knows there's players on top of the mountain that will easily take shots right through that door the second it opens up. So he's going to throw some smokes, throw a Molotov to stall. Doctor does have a teammate across the way. Joker trying to provide what kind of angle of support he can. Hidekori and a very long-range support sideline. I mean, yeah, I don't think Doctor has much longer to live. If anything, Doctor needs a doctor himself, as he does get knocked down and finished out. Uncanny, I understand Doctor was in a tough position, but I would have liked to see Uncanny play a little bit more aggressive to try and help out his teammate, as he did Corey getting third party from distance. Bro, the side of Big, whoa, perfect. Well, sorry, but if Big spots you out, they're gonna hunt you down.
Yeah, then there's going to be quite a bit of big trouble heading your way. But of course, we see Mozaro now just quickly trying to reposition closer on towards Itokiri. Ooh, gets isolated and picked right on up as Mozaro laser focuses on towards them. And now with that, Uncanny is, well, potentially reduced down to only 1. But of course, 7 up, they hear the shots. They are going to be coming rushing in as a, ooh,
oh my gosh. Joker from the Uncanny that's been chilling in the compounds. We thought we had a shot lined up on that bridge rotation, but Joker just shoots 7-up in the back. I think Big kind of realizes they're not just dealing with one team here, but something's interesting happening here with 2 different teams. So I think that Big player is going to circle back around, play a little bit slower, find some more info before they go aggressive. But I love that adjustment on Mazzaro. He shot that player up, and that player was forced to hide behind the tree, and instantly he readjusted, knowing where that player would be, which angle that player would be trying to take cover from, and Mazzaro hits him from the side before he can even realize his side was compromised.
Yeah, that's some really interesting plays coming through. But of course, as we now look a little bit further onwards, we can see the plays here from Greek Army. The Vito now just heading up in the direction of the zone, now rotating away from that western bridge. Of course, the zone shifting even further up towards the north, not 100% moving to where we would have hoped it would, but of course, it has centered up a little bit closer on towards Watertown and potentially even Rozhok.
So we do have the potential of an interesting zone happening with this shift. That river is kept in play. The next circle, if it kind of centers up, we might see a northern or potential southern Erangel mainland finish, which is always a tricky circle and a fun one to watch. Mega Power still here looting up. I mean, I get it. The first like maybe 5, 6, 8 minutes of their match was dealt with a 4v4, which they recently cleaned up. And with the zone being so far away, they don't have a huge need to rotate in. Eastern Stars getting into a fight with Big, getting the opening knock. Both of these teams, definitely big teams. Mazzaro actually gets knocked and confirmed, but a trade happens right now. We see it in the kill feed. And take a look at the minimap. It's not just Eastern Stars and Big. Game Lord is here as well. It's a 3-way battle between 3 giants of the game.
Wow, that is what we want to see. Want to see chaos erupting on the screen. And who better to do it other than the three teams we have right here. But of course, now the Eastern Stars, they've been reduced down to only two. You can see Doran and, of course, Basil now just trying to find a good rotational path. But they are very, very exposed. This Game Lord now lands a few hits onto Doran's vehicle. But fortunately, that ridgeline comes as a bit of a saving grace as they now have the opportunity to make their way even further on towards that western side.
I think the big team actually got eliminated. It happened so quickly, but I mean, that's what you get when you're sandwiched between Eastern Stars, PMGC level team, and Game Lord, the team with the highest amount of eliminations in one game. When you get sandwiched between those two teams, even as good as a team as big is when it comes to fighting, you will get ripped to shreds, and they got taken out before we can even I mean I didn't even realize it until I noticed there was no more big on the screen. So that is big out very early. They managed to pick up some elimination points, so their game, their final game of the day isn't a complete zero. They managed maybe I think they got maybe 3-4 eliminations, but it's quite sad to see Big eliminated so early. I love seeing them play the late game as well. But Eastern Stars down to 2, and I think Game Lord did manage to keep all 4 up. We're taking a look of RT9 right now, taking the top of Mount Everest. No real chance of it going there. And the next circle does come up. Yeah, we see Game Lord on that northeastern side with 4 still up. The V100 potentially about to take a fight with them if they want to rotate straight across that bridge. And it looks like they are. Hopefully we can catch that fight as Game Lord gets the opening knock onto Reznov. Great job for the cameraman immediately going to this fight. That's a second knock for Game Lord. They definitely set up a really nice trap and a third one. Ooh, the Game Lord playing this so well, waiting so patiently for the opportune time to take down the 100. Daddy IGL, last player up for the 100.
Well, I mean, that was just beautiful to see. Game Lord just farming those elims right then and there. An absolutely fantastic play coming in. But of course, we see a lot of teams now starting to migrate over on towards this western side. Up comes the players here from the Greek army, also going to be looking to see if they can find their own little slice of heaven. But up is the real tiger ahead of them. Mango now taking a few hits. A beautiful now return on that coming in as well, it's looking to be still a pretty tough play here as Sabon now just utilizes this extra bit of terrain cover.
Really nice DP burst right there. I would have liked to see him put a few more shots before proning down. He might have actually gotten the knock onto AU. But now he's in a 1v3 kind of situation as all 4 players are RT9 looking his way. And of course, the Greek army still has to rotate into zone. So very well, good discipline right there for him to stop firing so aggressively. We see it here. Both teams still not in the zone. RT9 just trying to put out more pressure so they create a bit of a spacing for them to leave so the Greek army isn't falling right behind them. So I like seeing that out of RT9 as well. So these two teams will live to fight another zone, so to say. Maybe not another day, as one of these teams will definitely be eliminated by the end of this match. So RT9 rotating on the northern side, taking a more of a wrapping rotation. They're hopefully betting that the circle does shift north. This is a 50-50 circle. Yeah, we see it right here on the minimap. It could go south or it could go north. I would rather be the team from the north because I always feel like it's easier to rotate from the northern side of that river down to the south, whereas the other way around, much more difficult.
Yeah, but also, like, the southern section is quite congested, right? We see a lot of teams teams positioned in exactly that region. I mean, 7 Up as well as Uncanny being 2 of the teams situated right here. But now those rotations are coming in, heading up from the north. But this is where we could see quite a bit of fighting breaking out between Team Bravos, the players there from Real Tiger, as well as potentially maybe even Golden, I believe, and then also the players coming in from the side there of Red Moon. But the stakes are going to be high as the zone now centers up even more towards the river.
Another 50-50 potential circle right now. It's not making it any easier for any of these teams to really figure out a game plan. But the teams on the northern side are pretty much dedicated to the north of the main Arendelle mainland now. And the South teams, I'm pretty sure they don't have much options either. Mega Power, not in the zone. Game Lord putting out really nice suppressive fire to push the teams away. One of the Game Lord players did get knocked, so they'll have to go for that revive. I want to see Narvolo actually stay here and not readjust his position because he had a nice control of the bridge. But instead, I think Game Lord's just going to prioritize this spot and just play inside the zone. Mega Power have pushed up already really close, so maybe this is why they're full sending and stacking on this location. Logis goes down. The rest of the Mega Power team also potentially going to fight for this position.
Yeah, I do think Logis was a little bit too eager with pushing into that engagement instead of waiting for, the numbers to kind of back him up. But now, well, the players here from Mega Power, they've shown great potential as they've been able to hold their own, and this is now where the players from Game Lord find themselves in a bit of a difficult play as, those hits continue to fly in. Vela sending out an absolutely fantastic grenade, and now Narvalo is going to be put to the test as the rush comes in, full send coming through. Mega Power might have this engagement in the bag. Ooh.
Narvalo tries to do the best he can. He knocks one, but ultimately does go down. Yeah, I didn't like that by Game Lord. That's why I was kind of, questioning. I think it was Narvelo's play on leaving his position at that bridge. He, as a solo player, could have stalled for time to get that readjustment, to get that revive picked up before, giving up that bridge control. But the second he did, and they all stacked at that tower, it was easy entry for the Mega Power team to come in and wrap in and take them out. Definitely a mistake out of Game Lord. Usually I wouldn't be as critical, but Game Lord being such a good team, I think that was a big blunder by them.
Yeah, it did seem like they were prioritizing trying to get those reses going instead of focusing on the threats coming in from either side. But that's how it is. You live, you learn, and then you take a chicken somewhere. But of course, for the time being, we still have 12 teams left fighting it out for their position in this match. The players here from LMV now still holding on, sneaking up in it towards Rozak. We can see the players here from the Greek army position just up ahead of them, and alongside them we've got 7 up, and of course now Faria from Golden just trying to cool down a little bit, having a bit of a splish splash, just trying to make the most of being the solo left for the team.
He drove in on a flaming buggy, so definitely wanting to cool off a little bit right there. Solo hiding in the river. It could work out well for him because there's a good chance the river is going to be in play on the next circle shift still. And we might see a continual 50-50 until the very end of the game. Let's take a look at where this circle is going to go. Most everybody kind of has made it into the zone, so it's kind of quiet now. The 100 Daddy IGL using that jump punch technique, lower down the amount of footstep noise, and we get a hard shift towards the northwest. It is going to be a northern mainland finish. All the teams in Rozak, good luck to you on how to share that bridge. Maybe, single file line, one at a time down that bridge line, but I don't think that's going to be the case. The teams on the north definitely feeling a lot happier with that shift.
All we can do is hope and dream. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I don't think that is going to be something that we'll see happening. Of course, now for the time being, Team Bravos trying to land as many of these hits as they can as Real Tiger 9 now start to make their way on through. Of course, Faria there from Golden still just holding out, creeping closer and closer to that bridge. But up comes Team Bravos now rotating towards the northern side. But I look over on towards that western front. I mean, that looks to be a very, very interesting position. And I mean, we've got the players here from the Eastern Stars sharing the space with Glor. Yeah, if they work this one well, this could be prime real estate.
Combined efforts right now between Eastern Stars and Glor. They're like, hey, we got the zone. We got a lot of teams come in. Let's just take a chill pill on this one and farm the elims that come both our ways. 100 Daddy IG, or the 100 Daddy IGL trying to navigate this, and does get blown up, taking shots from multiple members, and a lot of the players defaulting to the river instead of just crossing the bridge directly. But you see what happens when you drive that car for too long. Too many players will take shots, so many players would rather just hide in the riverside. 7 up. Last team to leave the Rozak area because they have a nice position. They can afford to leave a little bit later. But let's see if they can manage to come down to the water without being taken out. And they're actually going to take the bridge. but very late. I actually really love this. They're the
Mm.
last team to rotate out, so they know all the teams are gone out of Rozhok, so they play their positioning extremely well. Actually amazing to see. That's something I'll definitely have to take note of in the future. But can they break into the zone still, as LMB will be trying to gatekeep them out?
Well, yeah, this could have been such a beautiful rotation coming in there from 7 up. You know, that late rotation just sneaking their way in. Unfortunately, LMV was being super attentive of their surroundings, as we can see now. LMV just looking to reposition, but also move a little bit closer. We got Zanz up ahead, and of course, the Greek army position just down below, trying to make a play from that riverbed. But it's going to be an absolute bloodbath, seeing that we have the players there from Chasmac positioned right alongside them. Meanwhile, Eastern Stars and Glor just going to be holding their compound, not doing too much with each other. Meanwhile, they are going to be focusing their efforts down the side of this hill.
That circle shift, DK. We talked about Eastern Stars and Glor being neighbors, like, hey, we got zone, let's just share this one out. Looks like they might be continuing to do that as the zone pops right on top of them. All the teams on the riverbed forced to run up and ooh, that's not your teammate right there, as he quickly realizes when Trazen pops a shot into him from inside the water. Eastern Stars, they have a field day right in front of them, as they can see up to maybe, I don't know, 10 players not in the zone and open sight lines for them.
Yeah, it's almost a buffet of players they have to choose from. But with that, of course, Insania does find the hit up on towards Japon. Now, here we go. 7 up, trying to make their play, trying to rush in from this eastern side. They quickly have to try and deal with the players coming in from the Greek army, though. The shots fly through. And with that, now 7 up, it's down to Bob. Will Bob be able to make a stand here? The shots fly in, finds a few good ones. Picks up the knock, not out of the woods just yet. Finds a beautiful angle, though, onto Nelas. Looking to move in, does try to pick up the confirm, does not find it just yet. Insania now up ahead, providing quite a few of those challenging positions, but fortunately Bob is able to disengage for the time being, not quite out of the woods just yet.
Bob is on fire, and Bob, you may as well call him Neo. He just dodged a full entire spray by Bazi of Eastern Stars, a PMGC level player. So that was not a spray that I would have expected him to make, but he did get shot in the back. Bob actually played that in-game quite beautifully. You can see the individual skill out of these players, the mechanics on point, the aim, the reactions back and forth. A lot of these teams with really high-skilled players, the only thing lacking from time to time is the teamwork and the strategy. But everybody in this lobby, the gun skill is on point. The fights are amazing to see. The circle has slowly started closing now. There's only 4 teams left alive. The only team that, CMG, Chasmog Gaming, Trazen does get taken out. Now we're down to the 3 teams that did get circle blessed. Where is this zone gonna go next? Will an engagement finally break out between these 3 teams, as they have just been pretty much, friendly neighbors up until now?
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. I mean, it is going to be a 3v3v2. I mean, the Eastern Stars down to 2. This is now that opportunity for Glor to try and explore their options, but we'll have to wait and see where this next phase is going to be taking us. Team Bravis definitely have an interesting angle there. They are able to utilize those ridges they have in their region, and now the zone shifts up quite favorably for them. The Eastern Stars now having to try and reposition. I'm not quite sure that the Glor will be too happy sharing the phase with the Eastern Stars at this point.
Eastern Stars, friendly neighbors, no long. Oh, well, there we go. Glora's gonna be the first one to say, no, you guys are not invited. Stay on your side. And, well, there goes out the Eastern Stars. Really nice shot by Bravis right there with that headshot. So we're down to a 3v3. Both teams right now do have the circle. I would say it kind of just depends on where it goes at this point. If it goes to Glor, Bravis has to cross in the open. If it goes to Bravis, Glor has to cross in the open. It's going to be a stalemate until the next shift.
Yeah. I mean, both teams have a pretty controlling angle on either side of the zone. But I have to agree with you. I mean, this next phase, it is going to be the deciding factor. Unless, of course, either of these teams can pick up that first knock. Because I think once they find a knock, that is going to be the opening for that chicken dinner.
Yeah, the opening. But even if they get an opening right now, I don't think either team will push that advantage. It's just too much of an open space. I do imagine both teams are just gonna wait it out to see where the circle goes. Instead, of course, smokes will definitely come into play, and Bravos do have some vehicles to make that short distance push. So if they had to, they do have a way to close the distance quite easily. But of course, they would rather look for that opening first before making that push. And that really comes down to if the circle even goes Glor's side.
Yeah, it definitely does depend on that. I mean, definitely Glor, they've got a few options to utilize here. They do have that vantage point from which they can try to play. But of course, Bravos are looking to wrap their way around. You see Lewis just sneaking up that western side. That zone, of course, getting ready to pop up. We do see a few smokes getting utilized, and Leonardo not really finding the angles onto Spyro. There was a few times that I thought the hits were going to make their way all the way through onto Spyro, but fortunately for Spyro, he's able to just duck and weave
Ooh.
around all of that. But yes, indeed, the zone now moves up into no man's land between these two teams.
I think I think Glor definitely has the advantage here. A slight one. Maybe both teams don't have the zone necessarily, but Bravos is closer to the blue on their back, so Bravos is going to be forced to push out first. And you can see it now. They're laying down some smokes. They realize they got to move before the Glor team needs to go. So these vehicles are definitely going to come into play in immediate. All the smokes come out. Bravos, hopefully maybe they can get a knock. It'll make it a lot easier. But Glor playing very disciplined right now, knowing they have the advantage. They're not going to give one easily over to the side of Bravos. You see here, they have the grenades in hand. They know the push is coming. They're going to try and get that pre-nade ready. Leonardo on the top with that grenade. Glor, Masha also with a grenade. Lewis driving in with the vehicle, but maybe not the most inconspicuous vehicle, as quite a bit of it is peeking out of the smoke.
Yeah, it's always the problem you face. But so far, I mean, Bravos and Glor, both teams having a good trade-off either side. We can see those knocks now making their way on in, but this is the opportunity for Bravos to try and create a bit of an opening. Lewis now quickly having to change over, but up comes Leonardo rushing straight on through. Spyro is now the last hopeful for the side of Team Bravos.
Yeah, 1v2 situation. There's still one player, I think, up in the house that's up for Glor unless he managed to get that knock, which would change it down to 1v1. But no, it is indeed a 1v2 situation. Spyro with the UMP, really strong close-range weapon, but they have a UMP as well on Glor's side. If Spyro doesn't make a move now, Glor's just going to get a reset up to 3 players. He realizes this. He's going to venture around the side, try and press in, but now he's cornered around the backside with... What is he doing? He's just going to try and hide in the closet. Picks up a confirmation on the elim, I guess. But that was an interesting play by the Bravos player. I think that was definitely a sign of pressure and panic coming through. Good job by the Glor team, though, holding that compound down, getting a chicken. Glor, not one of the teams that we usually see get a chicken, so good to see them end the day off with one, with quite a few eliminations as well. I believe that is 9 eliminations, so you could say they got zone blessed, but hey, Eastern Stars, Glor, and Bravos all got the zone there, and it was Glor that came out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Glor came out gloriously blessed with their position in that one, just stepping up, finding that those elims, and of course with that stealing in that winner chicken dinner. But again, some nice shifts coming in from the zone, not particularly where we would have hoped, but still adding that extra bit of difficulty to the plays for the teams to make it up into these final few phases. I gotta say though, the position that we saw the Eastern Stars and the players there from Glor holding for such a long time, I think that really assisted them in securing a strong finish in this play.
Yeah, so quite an interesting Erangel finish, that 50-50 playing all the way through until that hard shift to the northwest. I think we also got to see some, like, you know, teams that are really strong at fighting and what happens when they get into three-way fight, right? The Eastern Stars, Big, and Game Lord. Big definitely not getting the better end of that. But you see, Big did start off the match with that quick fight with Golden. So quick adjustments there by Big. I think overall, the end of the end of the day, it played out quite well. A lot of cool things to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite interesting seeing that fight coming in from Big as they push on towards Golden. And, Big just showing such a great amount of dominance moving in. But also got to give a big ups to the players there from Mega Power, holding their own all the way over in towards those Novo crates and just quickly and swiftly dealing with the players coming in from 4 Romanian men.
Yeah, so a lot of early game fights for this last Erangel match. I think it has to do with the last match of the day too. We typically see teams be a little bit more aggressive. But don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be coming right back with the scores for that match. We'll be taking a quick little break. So enjoy the highlights out of game number 4. Definitely one for the books. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed all the games today. That is it for it today. But before we close out the show, the scores, I think today was really interesting to see because we had teams from different countries or different communities really stepping up game after game. We didn't have a day where one community took the spotlight and ran away with it. Each game was kind of a different story. Each game was a different community stepping up and taking a look at the match rankings. I mean, you'll see here, Team Glore stepping it up for the last game of the day, getting a total of 24 points, 9 elims, and of course, the chicken dinner.
Yeah, that is a very well-deserved chicken to come in, might I say so myself. But of course, a really valiant effort coming in there from Team Bromvis as well as the Eastern Stars. Both teams ending up on those 17 total points as well, just to add on to all of that. And this is kind of a trend we've been seeing the whole day. You know, different regions continuously stepping up as the team to take that chicken.
Yeah, and shout outs to Greek Army. You brought them up in game number 3. You touched on them just slightly, saying Greek Army, you wish to see they do better. You know, and I said, yeah, they're a team that's been struggling throughout the tournament. Well, 10 points. Congrats to them. Very good job by the Greek Army. Definitely, you know, showing signs of life at the end of the day. I want to see them, you know, keep that up throughout the rest of the day. And I'm looking at the rest of the leaderboards, and I'm seeing a lot of things I'm not used to seeing, right? Game Lord with the 10th place finish, Big with the 11th place finish, and the 100. They had a really good day, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, the last match didn't go as well for them, but I think the 100 has improved a lot overall. And for Romanian men, a little bit inconsistent, I think, throughout week 1 and coming into, you know, the 2 days of week 2. We've seen them shine really bright, and then we've seen them kind of fall to the wayside from time to time.
Yeah, but of course also, you know, that is partially because of the stopping power we had coming in from Mega Power as they met up with them over in the container yard, just coming through with those heads. And, you know, Mega Power, they've also been showing some great plays here today. I mean, some heavy hitting action in this last round, but through the rest of the day, match 1, 2, and 3, they've also been pretty consistent.
Yeah, Mega Power finishing the last match for today with 9 eliminations and 1 placement point. So you say heavy hitting power, that is definitely them because they got 9 out of their 10 points through elims alone. Of course, that Mega Power team, I do believe it was the situation with the tower where they kind of gave up their control of the bridge, prioritized the revive, and then they got taken out. I believe that was Mega Power. I might have the two teams flip-flopped, but either way, Mega Power showing out on the last match through the course of elims, and that's actually tied with the most amount of elims in the match. 9 from Glore and 9 from Mega Power.
Yeah, that is some pretty impressive stuff. So yeah, I gotta say, so far the team's really bringing in some very satisfying gameplay, and of course, you know, Mega Power bringing in some strong representation there for the Nordic region. And you know, again, also Mega Power is the only one from that community participating in today's matches. So what a way to make them proud. I mean, Mega Power, mega impressive stuff, and excited to see what the next day of gameplay will hold for them.
Yeah, so coming into tomorrow, we'll have a different group playing and a different group sitting out. We won't be showing the overalls for the end of the day. That you will have to tune in for the beginning of the match. And in case you missed overalls for today, you can always rewind the stream back to the beginning of the YouTube stream where you can take a look at the overalls coming in. But make sure you tune in tomorrow. I think that does it for today. DK, was great working with you, and I do believe I'll be seeing you tomorrow as well.
Yeah, 100%. It was an absolute blast being here with you, and I gotta say, tomorrow is gonna be where the action's at.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same people, and definitely the action's gonna be different because I think every day the action has been kind of different. So don't go. Wait, no, do go somewhere. Go somewhere else for quite a bit because we'll be back tomorrow.